Your turn it on, leave it on. Home of America's team is 105.3 The Fan.
Hello, baby.
KRLD FM and HD1, Dallas Fort Worth.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
.105.3 The Fan and the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network present Dallas Cowboys Football 2023.
And Prescott walks the dog. Touchdown, Cowboys.
In crystal clear HD stereo. Today's pregame show is brought to you by
Volleman's Dairy, the official milk of the Dallas Cowboys. Texaco. Texaco with Techron delivers unbeatable gas mileage. Texaco with Techron, driving performance. Arrow Exterminators, official pest control provider of the Dallas Cowboys. Buffalo Wild Wings. Blockchain.com. Make your crypto play today. And by DallasCowboys.com. Keep track of the boys with daily podcasts and up-to-the-minute blogging at DallasCowboys.com.
Now, here's Eric Chiofalo and Bryan Broaddus.
You know, Broaddus, a lot of folks are saying we've reached the true serum portion of the program as it relates to this 2023 Cowboys season. The schedule starts to get a little bit tougher starting tonight with quality 500 or better opponents with the Seattle Seahawks coming to town. Thursday Night Football. AT&T Stadium is the place to be right now. The Brad Sham Radio booth. We are out of the elements. I don't know if it's still raining. It certainly was when we came in, but Arlington is a football paradise right now, and it's great to have you in the official pregame show of America's team. Broaddus, what say you? Is this the truth serum portion of the season here for these Cowboys?
Yeah, I think we're past the point of the small sample size, and now after Thanksgiving, I remember working with Bill Parcells. He always talked about that. Bill always said, "You are who you are. You know, your record is who you are." But he also used to say, tell me about Thanksgiving. Tell me what your team looks like after Thanksgiving, you know, and how you're going to go forward from there. Mike McCarthy is one of these guys now that used to be a get me to 10 wins and I'll tell you guy. Now that you play the 17th game, he's like, get me to 11 wins and I'll tell you what he is. But right now he's doing a pretty damn good job of calling some ball plays. There's some, you're getting guys more involved. The combinations of the routes, the offensive line, you're seeing a glimpse of a running game a little bit. So, yeah, there's starting to be some things that maybe you didn't see in the first 3-4 weeks of the season, but now it's building to the point where you're trying to position yourself to maybe win a division or find a way for playoff seeding.
Yeah, and a couple of folks on the text line, 817 feels 100% like a trap game tonight. They've beaten up on really bad teams, may easily mistake that for themselves being better than they are. Trap game scenario, maybe a look-ahead situation because you got the Eagles on the horizon.
No.
You got to be dialed, though, man.
To me, and I always like when people say that, the must-win games, trap games. To me, personally, you have to win all the games because – you only play 17 of them, and then you're either one to the good or one to the bad, and with your playoff situations and stuff like that, you could throw on the tape right now. The Seahawks will get your attention. Seahawks will get your attention with Leonard Williams and the linebacking core and the way they play their secondary. And,
so it's beyond a curiosity at this point.
To me, it's the trap games and all that. Now you could go out there and play terribly today.
Yeah.
You can, and then all that comes back of they can't beat anybody any good. No, today is about going out and trying to find a way to beat. I think, Seattle's record says they're 6-5. I kind of feel like there's some things along the way. They've beaten some good teams. They've got blown out by some others. San Francisco completely embarrassed them at home, last week. That's something that you have to kind of understand, but San Francisco embarrassed you as well. So you got to go out there, and you can't let them come in here and dictate how you're going to play. You got to take it to them today. And, the Cowboys have done a pretty good job of that in these home games they've played this season.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I mean, the Cowboys have been absolutely lights out this season at home, dating back to last season. Of course, it was made 13 consecutive victories a week ago today on Thanksgiving, beating the Commanders, and now you're looking for 14 straight home victories. And it's not just been 14 straight home victories. It's been, for the most part, runaway dominant victories. And so Vegas tells you it's a 9-point Cowboy spread today, where the Cowboys are favored by 9. I think that's about right, and I can understand with the Cowboys being at home and the way they've looked and all the points they've scored, and a lot of it has to do with the defense helping you out there a little bit with the scoring. But the Cowboys have been so impressive at home, and I don't know what it is about these Seahawks that I know that they are better. I know that they are better than these teams that you have faced over the course of the last month or so. Since the Cowboys have really dialed things up a little bit and changed the way they play offense, being more explosive. They're on a really impressive run right now. Dak playing the highest level of football that we've seen from him probably since 2016. And so, but the Seahawks, I know they're better than these previous teams here over the last month or so, but I don't think they are anywhere close to Cowboys, Eagles, Niners. I know
the Cowboys have got to prove that they could beat, this team, whether you say it or not, in your mind it's borderline, whether that's good or bad. I'm talking about the Seahawks.
Yes.
You're not going to give Seattle credit. You're saying Seattle could be good, but you don't think they're good.
Yeah, they got talent. They had some expectations coming into the year. They had the first 3 weeks of the season. It looked like, okay, they're picking up where they left off a little bit last year. They give Geno the money, but maybe it's the elbow, whatever it is. Offensively, I mean, this is not a team that is really scaring anybody. It's DK Metcalf, name. Jackson Smith-Njigba, first-round pick, name. Tyler Lockett, consistent dude over the last decade, one of the most underrated. But now, where are we seeing it in their offense? I mean, you're not seeing it at all.
You worry about them putting that together, though. You worry about
they absolutely could.
You worry about all of a sudden that you don't get pass rush today against this offensive line. You worry about the fact that on third down that you don't cover the slot receiver, that you allow Tyler Lockett to all of a sudden catch a ball for 7 yards, and then all of a sudden it turns into a 16 or 17-yard gain. You have to go out there and play today.
You got to show up.
You absolutely. This is more than show up to me. If you don't show up, these guys, this receiver core will embarrass you. And this is where I don't agree with you, because I feel like with this team, and I feel like with the way that they've played, and their schedule has been probably more difficult than yours. But I feel like, though, that if you don't play against their receivers the right way and you don't pressure them, and all of a sudden it turns into Geno Smith, he's capable of lighting you up. We've seen games where Geno Smith has thrown the ball in his career
for sure.
With Seattle.
No doubt.
Thrown the ball really, really well and lit teams up playing that way.
Correct.
That's the thing that scares me. If the secondary doesn't play well in this game, if you give up, and we saw last week with Curtis Samuel, and he wasn't even a guy that we were even really talking about leading up. We were talking about others with the Commanders. We weren't even talking about Curtis Samuel, and who's, lo and behold, he's the first guy that gets 100-yard receiving against you.
Yeah.
But these guys, DK Metcalf, Lockett, Smith-Njigba, are all better than what Curtis Samuel is.
Okay, let me ask you this. Is tonight the night that you unveil the thing you've been suggesting for a few weeks now? You break up the tendencies. Yeah. You kick Bland inside to do some nickel work a little bit, because you know how much Njigba, doesn't Metcalf and Lockett, don't all these guys work out of the slot a little bit?
They all take a turn in there. But see,
if they're gonna be trying to pick on Jordan Lewis, why wouldn't you do your plan of mixing Bland in the slot? Not the whole game, but
They've had a full week. This is not a short week. Like last week, you had a short week, so you probably really didn't want to do that. Dan Quinn probably had a simple game plan. It's like, okay, I want to play this way. This is how I want to play against the Commanders, and he was able to execute that. You've had a whole week to play, And me personally, yes, I would find ways to put Bland in the slot. I'm not talking the whole game. I'm talking about just kind of mix it up.
Throwing some curveballs.
Yeah, where all of a sudden, like, Seattle's not going over there, and they're not they're sitting there on the sidelines and going, we're getting Jordan Lewis 100% of the time in the slot. And it might even be a mix up instead of moving Bland, would be Wanye Thomas playing in there. Now you put Wanye Thomas in the slot a little bit, and that might be a little bit of a mix up for what you're doing there.
Okay. All right. I'm interested in that. I didn't know Wanye Thomas. I mean, he's been nothing but impressive since training camp.
Right.
We watched him in Oxnard going, who the heck is this Wanye Thomas? He's been a stud. I didn't know he had the nickel capabilities the same way. I mean, they did it with McQuamu a little bit last year, right?
Sure. And what I would absolutely do is if you're if you're in fact going to move Bland into the slot some, if you wanted to, I think Mukuamu would be the guy that I would bring in to play on the outside. If you just want to throw people a curveball that breaks tendencies, that going forward they could say, because that, like, people could say, well, Dallas's nickel player is Jordan Lewis 100% of the time.
Right.
You want to be able to kind of maybe, if people want to put their best receiver in the slot to match up with Jordan Lewis, I think you have to be able to show them, well, we could throw our best player in the slot to match you if we had to.
No, it's a brilliant idea by you. You brought it up
a couple
of weeks
ago. They think
ago.
of stuff like that before I do.
Well, listen, I'm not saying they haven't thought about it, but no one was bringing that thought to the mainstream until you, and now tonight seems like a really nice night to sort of unveil that, not only because the Deron Bland dominance, not only because of the way the Seahawks like to put their best guys in the slot,
right,
but also because it feels like Jordan Lewis has become a bit of a liability. It's not just, Deron Bland. Like, yes, Deron Bland is a beast in the nickel, but also Jordan Lewis, you have been getting picked on a little bit.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm really surprised that people haven't gone after Gilmore. But last week, if you look at how Gilmore played in that game, and Terry McLaurin was, had 6 targets, 1 catch against Gilmore. That was it. So Gilmore, where I'm thinking like, well, maybe, you want to carry him on some vertical stuff. Well, maybe you want to carry him inside. He did a nice job against Terry McLaurin last week in that football game. The guy they went after, as we've mentioned a bunch, was they went after Bland. That was 11 targets, 8 receptions, $120 right there. Mm-hmm. Had the big pick 6 in that game.
Right.
That kind of turned things around for you. But, if Seattle is going to win this game tonight, it's going to have to be their receivers, I believe, making plays in the Dallas secondary.
I'm in agreement with you on that 100%, and I feel confident that the Cowboys will be able to stifle that. You mentioned throwing potentially Wagner Thomas in the mix there at nickel, and it looks like he has announced that he is expecting his first child.
Something in the water over there at the Star.
Yeah, I think so. We got the news on Dak, I guess, over the weekend.
Sure.
He's going to be having a little baby girl, so Wagner Thomas will be joining the squad when it comes to being a Papa Bear. That news just dropping, I believe, over the course of today. I just saw it about 30 minutes ago or so. So congratulations to Wagner Thomas, who's been a stud. Now, when it comes to looking at the Seahawks team, and part of the reasons why I'm like, all right, how actually good are they? Offensively, since after week 3, so they beat up on the Panthers in week 3.
Yeah.
They had a nice win versus Detroit in, I believe, week 2. It's like, okay, the Seahawks doing their thing, and I got respect for their play caller, Shane Waldron. He's one of the better offensive coordinators, I would say, in the league, upper half for sure. I think he's off the McVay tree, so he knows what he's doing. But since week 3, the Seahawks ranked 26th in points per drive, 28th in touchdowns per drive, 30th in red zone efficiency, and they go 3 and out at the fourth highest rate in the league. So I'm looking at their offense over, a good sample now, week 4 to now, and they are a bottom third offense in all of the main categories when it comes to scoring points. So unless they find a little something here that they haven't been able to find in 6+ weeks, then okay. But I don't see it. Not against this Cowboys defense at home where they fly around and they're
well. That's exactly
fast as can be.
That's exactly what you. I don't believe you're wrong about your analysis. It is what it is for the Seahawks.
But they do have the potential to find it. Is what you think.
The Cowboys need to find a way not to allow them to get going in this game. Don't allow them to make big plays. Don't allow them to throw the ball to DK Metcalf down the field for 55 yards. Don't allow Tyler Lockett to catch an underneath route or Jackson Smith and Jigba to catch a 3rd down and 8 for a first down. Dallas has got to go out there. I don't think this is one of those games where, you're playing the Giants and DeVito at quarterback and somebody like that. Yeah, roll your helmet out there. You should be better than them. And the metrics will tell you that the Seahawks are not very good on offense right now. But you got to go out there and play. You can't just, like I say, roll your helmet and hope. They've got talented players. They got a veteran quarterback. They've got some questions on the offensive line that Dallas needs to take advantage of for sure.
Okay, tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, you need to find a way. We'll see what happens with their offensive line, because when Phil Haynes, who's been the starter at guard, he's likely going to miss this game. So that means they're going to have to do some things differently there at right guard. Stone Forsythe has been the starter here as of late at right tackle. Jason Peters has played there. There was some talk that maybe that they were going to bring up, that they were going to activate one of their other tackles, Abraham Lucas, that maybe that they would bring him. So I haven't seen any report. He's been designated for return since week 11. So, I mean, maybe their right tackle situation is not great right now. And they've struggled at that spot. And so if you're the Cowboys, that's right tackle, that's the right guard over there. Those are the two areas that we've seen Osa have some success. We've seen Tank have some success moving down as a 3 technique. We've seen Parsons rush from the middle. Take advantage. That's the one thing that Dan Quinn and this group has done a great job of. When somebody is weak in an area, they go after that spot.
Cowboys Nation, come out early to the Miller Lite House, the pregame gathering destination on the West Plaza of the stadium. Miller Lite is the only beer of the Cowboys, and we invite all Cowboys fans to join us for a great tailgate event. Sample some great seltzer brands as well, like Vizzy Hard Seltzer, the official hard seltzer of the Cowboys. It is the official pregame party of the Cowboys, live from the Brad Sham radio booth inside of AT&T Stadium, getting you set for Thursday night football. We're under 3 hours to kick. Let's go behind enemy lines. Jen Mueller, Seattle sideline reporter, joins us next right here on The Fan. It's time to go behind enemy lines here on the official pregame show of America's team. Under 3 hours to kick off Thursday night football here at AT&T Stadium. Cowboys and Seahawks. Cowboys looking to make it 14 straight home victories. And now we welcome in Seattle Seahawks sideline reporter Jen Mueller. Jen, for the second time this year, I believe Jen's our first double dipper situation.
Yes.
We had a little preseason action. So welcome back, Jen. Thanks for giving us some time.
Very good. I feel like I get a gold star for that today.
Yeah, I'll make it 2 gold stars.
It.
Jen, we appreciate the time.
Thank you.
And
Happy to have fun.
Yes, absolutely. And Jen, of course, hosts season 3 now of I Cook, You Measure, which is an awesome sports show that involves hanging out in the kitchen, doing a little cooking, doing a little football conversation. So, what's the headliner for season 3 of I Cook, You Measure? Who is the headliner, I should say?
Well, Michael Bennett was the headliner in episode 1. There are a lot of football connections, including John and Tracy Schneider, the GM of the Seahawks, and his wife. This week, we're actually going hockey with Philip Grubauer from the Seattle Kraken. So, yeah, it's been a fun show and a fun season.
I'll tell you what, Jen. John was my intern at Green Bay. Remember the story? I
remember you saying that.
Yeah, and knowing John, I think you're going to have a lot of work to have to. And I don't know if you've taped this yet. I don't know. Tracy she can cook. John,
she can cook. Yeah,
she can cook.
Yeah.
John, on the other hand,
John Measure.
John needs to be out in the backyard playing with the dogs. I'm just going to be honest here.
John's participation was limited. Yeah, Tracy absolutely carried that one. Absolutely,
no, Tracy knows. She knows exactly what to do in that kitchen. So what did they prepare? What did they? Do you remember what they?
Yes,
what it was?
We did a fire roasted tomato sauce over some angel hair pasta with lemon goat cheese and chicken cutlets. Yeah,
and John ate every bit of that. I know, right?
And yes, and was excellent at pouring the wine. So
yeah, he can order. If
yes.
alcohol's involved, John can order for everybody.
I think he actually said that while we were taping. He said that was a strong suit of his. Yeah,
trust
he was scouting himself. That was a strong suit.
Yeah, John one time had to get the scouts to the airport, and John overserved himself. And they missed out on that. So the scouts called me and said, "Bryan, your young guy missed out this morning." And then he came into the office a little bit later, and he had this look, Jen, like he really didn't want to talk to me. But I love John. I really do.
He's a good one. He's a good one. Yeah.
Jen, are you loving your football team right now?
Well, I'm loving all the pieces. I'm loving the personalities. I am not loving the level of consistency, or rather the inconsistency that we've seen on both sides of the ball. It is a little confusing week to week, and certainly the last couple of weeks have not been good outcomes for the team. There's still a lot of talent. There's more health on the offensive line tonight. That's a good thing. But, yeah, they've got to play fundamental football, get back to some basics, and get out of their own way.
Well, what have you seen offensively in particular here, Jen, with Geno Smith? He's been dealing with an elbow issue. Pete Carroll's kind of put it to bed and saying he's back and feeling good now. What can you tell us about Geno?
Yeah, Geno looked great in practice. And, last week on Thursday night in Seattle, he was uncorking some nice deep throws. I do think that tricep, it's actually a bruised tricep, like right near the elbow. So it's how he's able to come back and essentially be 100% this week. It's not a ligament issue at all. It's just like the swelling and the bruising and kind of how that felt. He downplayed how much that affected him last week. But I would say that, anytime you give your arm a chance to rest and you get a chance to have a full regular work week, that's going to help. But what else would help today is getting the ground game going. And Seattle hasn't been able to do that very effectively. Part of that has been some moving pieces on the offensive line. Part of that's been injury at the running back position. But, boy, if you get that ground game going, especially against this Dallas team, everything is going to get a lot easier for Geno.
Jen, you mentioned the offensive line moving pieces. Did you guys activate Lucas today? Is that the piece? So he's going to play right tackle. What's going to happen though at right guard with the situation with Phil Haynes? Phil
Haynes. Yeah, I would anticipate Anthony Bradford, the rookie out of LSU, to be at right guard. He's a bigger body. He's going to be great in the run game. He's a rookie. He has played well And there are some inconsistencies there. Having Abe Lucas back solidifies everything. He is a strong player, not just physically, but with his understanding of the game, knowing what the Seahawks want to do. And they have been alternating Jason Peters and Stone Forsythe at right tackle for the last couple of games. And guys, both of them are good players in their own right? Jason Peters is a Hall of Famer, but it's not continuity. And that, it just kind of changes the formula of things. So I think having Abe can make a huge difference today.
Seahawks sideline reporter Jen Mueller with us here on the official pregame show of your Dallas Cowboys. You mentioned, Kenneth Walker being banged up. He's doubtful, oblique injury. What have you seen from Zach Charbonnet, the rookie running back out of UCLA?
I love his running style. It is completely different than Ken Walker, which is why when both of those guys are going, it's really fun. Zach Charbonnet is a guy that likes to run downhill and looks for people to run over. He's got some burst, he's got explosiveness, but really he is just a tough runner. Ken Walker dances just a little bit. He's looking for that lane, and then he's going to turn on the jets. So you are likely missing him, as you mentioned, but listed as doubtful. I'm curious to see perhaps Kenny McIntosh, the rookie out of Georgia, who last week was on the field for the first time. He had a knee issue that came up during training camp. So last week was the first week he was on the field, but only for a handful of special team snaps. He's a guy that has a lot of speed and a very different style. So it could be interesting. Look, we are very familiar with Dan Quinn, having had him in Seattle for a number of years. We know what that defense is going to look like. You know how much pressure he's going to try to bring. So, again, I think that they're going to want to use the ground game and try to get some distance there and quite honestly, stay on the field.
Jen, it looks like the Leonard Williams trade has worked out for you guys pretty well.
Yeah. Boy, he's a good one. And he is huge in the middle of that line. And what it's done is certainly he commands a lot of attention. He is disruptive, and now that he's been here a handful of weeks, the guys know how to rush together. I mean, it's not just a plug and play. It's never just plug and play when you're talking about pass rushers and guys trying to get to the quarterback. You always have to figure out how you're going to work off the guy next to you. And now that Leonard's been here for, 4 weeks, you can start to see that coming. You can also see Draymond Jones, who moved a little bit more outside. He'd been inside. That frees him up to do things that he had done in Denver and give Seattle just a little bit more. That pass rush has been slowed down in the last couple of weeks. Boye Mafe has commanded a few more chips, a little bit more attention during games after he had 7 sacks in 7 straight games. So that's an area that they're looking to dial up today, which I realize Dak hasn't been sacked in 3 games, so that one's going to be a tall task for those guys up front.
Seahawks sideline reporter Jen Mueller with us here on the Fan. My guy Broaddus here. He scouts him out, better than anybody. He's pretty impressed with the secondary in Seattle.
Yeah.
The rookie, and what do we need to know about this secondary? What kind of test is CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Cooks up against tonight?
Well, I mean, look, those guys are incredible receivers. I am, however, looking forward to the matchup of Devin Witherspoon and whoever he ends up covering most. I would imagine it's going to be CeeDee Lamb. They're not going to man him up at all, but I think that that's going to be a really fun test. Devin Witherspoon is not a large man, but he hits with such ferocity. I don't know where he gets that or where it comes from, but he has delivered some of the hardest hits I have seen this year. And when our Super Bowl championship team came back to celebrate the 10-year anniversary, it was guys like Cam Chancellor and KJ who were standing there talking, saying it's Devin Witherspoon who could fit into the Legion of Boom back in 2012, 2013, which is really high praise. He is a super instinctual player. For being a rookie, you wouldn't expect his level of just football understanding. He's really fun to watch, and I am excited for that matchup for sure.
Yeah, how did you guys steal Tariq Woolen there? Well, I mean, 5th round. I mean, John must have stepped outside a little bit to get some air. Somebody in the room make that pick for him?
Yeah, I know. And how crazy. And his numbers are not close to what they were last year. He was dealing with a little bit of a knee
good player,
at the
though.
beginning.
Cover you.
He's a great player, right?
Yeah.
And who would have seen that coming with as few games as he played at corner in college?
Sure. Right.
I mean, you were kind of hoping that he would turn into the next Richard Sherman-esque, make that transition. But holy cow. Yeah, he's a fun one. He adds some length back there, too, which is great. And he understands how the wide receivers are thinking and what he needs to do. So, yeah, he's a good one.
Jen, is this going to feel like a bit of a home game for the first-round rookie wide receiver Jackson Smith and Jigba? He's dominated AT&T Stadium a time or two. Shout out to Rockwall.
Yes. Yeah, he hung out with his family yesterday. I was talking to him this morning. I bumped into him, and he's got a big smile on his face. He knows that his family and friends are going to be in town. He's been looking forward to this one. Trains here in the off season. Yeah. And he's becoming more involved in the offense, which is exciting to see. And I'd like to see him involved just a little bit more because he has a very unique skill set. And he has picked up some tough yards. He had the best catch of the week last week on a really tough game against the Niners. And he is starting to, I think you're seeing his confidence grow in the NFL, and you're starting to see more contributions from him.
When Jen Mueller decides she's going to impress somebody with her cooking, what's her go-to meal?
Oh, man. That one you would stump me with. I would probably do something that looks fancy, like the recipe that's coming up this week, like a baked halibut with a fennel and zucchini slaw on top. It looks really fancy. It's super easy. Something like that, probably. And pie. I would make pie with a homemade crust. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Jen Mueller, ladies and gentlemen, Seahawks sideline reporter, and so much more. Jen, we appreciate you very much. Enjoy your stay here in Arlington. Enjoy the game tonight, and maybe we'll do this again for the third time. I guess it'll be next season. Maybe we'll get a playoff situation brewing. Jen, who knows?
I would love all of that. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Of course, there she goes, behind enemy lines right here from the Brad Sham radio booth. It's big, it's good, and it's only for Cowboys fans. The Cowboys special from Papa John's, a large one-topping pizza for only $9.99. Order today. Better ingredients, better pizza. Papa John's, the official pizza of the Dallas Cowboys. Why are you grinning over there?
I was just grinning because everything she was saying, I'm sure you were just shaking your head like, no, that's not going to happen today. No. You're not going to give me.
I mean, I don't think she's very bullish on what her team's got cooking right now. I mean, she's excited about the personality.
I think she's very honest about her team.
I think
she realizes they've had some issues there, but she's right about what's going on with Abraham Lucas playing at right tackle. That will help their game. Now, with the rookie guard, we'll see a little bit. Maybe it might be a little bit different with Anthony Bradford. That's one of my LSU guys right there. So I knew there was some questions about Phil Haynes going into this game, but the fact that they're playing a rookie. Let's see if the Cowboys can take advantage of some things inside against him. And then let's see if there's a little rust with Abraham at that right tackle spot, coming back after being out for some injury.
Okay, the right tackle, the right side of the offensive
line. The right
line,
side, right.
Going to be a good place to take advantage of these dudes tonight.
We will see, yes.
All right, the official pregame show brought to you by Reliant and NRG Company as we continue to get you set for Cowboys and Seahawks Thursday night football. I see the TNF Prime crew. They got a nice little spot down there on the field. They do it big with the TNF crew down there. Yeah. So we'll see old Big Whitworth and company doing his
Kirk
thing.
Herbstreit here, huh?
Richard Sherman, Kirk Herbstreit, Al Michaels floating around. Yeah. So it's star-studded here. Babe Laufenberg just made an appearance into the Brad Sham radio booth, giving me the Rocky victory. Yeah. 2 hands up. So it's a great night. It's a great time to be in Arlington. Great time to be a Cowboys fan looking for 14 straight here at AT&T Stadium. We're about 2.5 hours or so to kick off. Let's hear from KJ Wright, former Seahawks linebacker, a Super Bowl champion. He was on with Sean and RJ this morning. Interesting comments on Dan Quinn, Dak Prescott, so much more coming up next right here on The Fan.
Hi.
How about this in The Athletic? Seattle's defense contributed to a win over the Cleveland Browns in Week 8. But that's the last time that unit left the field in the fourth quarter feeling like it did its job. Since then, the Seahawks defense has struggled to close games. Baltimore puts up 20 second-half points, didn't punt after the first quarter. Commanders, Sam Howell leads back-to-back touchdown drives in the fourth quarter in Week 10.
Did a nice job, yeah.
Stafford orchestrating scoring drives of 68 and 75 yards for the Rams to close out the fourth quarter in Week 11. Seattle's defense did tighten up in the second half last week after giving up 24 first-half points. But nonetheless, this is a Seahawks defense that has struggled in a big way. But a guy who knows a thing or two about playing legit defense for the Seahawks is KJ Wright.
He does.
And now he's off the field. They handed him a microphone, and he's doing his thing. He's doing his thing here in the media world, and he joined Sean and RJ this morning. Great conversation. And some interesting things that he brought up. And he knows this Seahawks squad very, very well, but he also knows Dan Quinn. And he's been watching Dak Prescott, so it'll be exciting to hear some of his thoughts. But here's KJ Wright, who played linebacker for Dan Quinn all those years ago, the Legion of Boom, Super Bowl defense. What do you got on Dan Quinn here, KJ?
Love DQ. Solid dude, authentic dude, real. And just the way he holds guys accountable in the midst of chaos, in the midst of trouble. He's not shy to, hey, address something in the meeting room. He's not shy to, hey, Cam, you got to be here on this play. And so when he does it as a coach, you respect him. You appreciate him, having everyone on the same page. And just with his X's and O's, DQ will keep it simple. We're going to line up in over cover 3 and whoop your ass. It's not much to it. But watch when you turn on the tape with the Seahawks, with the Falcons, with the Cowboys. Guys are prepared, they're ready, and they just play lights out football. And so get ready. He's going to leave after this year. It's time. I'm predicting he's going to the Chargers. I got him going to the Chargers after this year.
Well, he might not be going anywhere. He might get a promotion. He might get a promotion.
Oh. What's higher than a defensive coordinator? Assistant head coach?
Head coach. Look, if they lose to San Francisco in the playoffs 3 years in a row, there's going to be some things that need to be answered in this building for the head coach.
It depends how the offense plays. We'll get there down the line. But if he does leave, I got him going to the Chargers. But just a great guy. Obviously, his people are prepared to play. Went to the Super Bowl with the Falcons. Wish he would have got that one. But I love DQ. And after the season, let's say he's going to be a head coach.
Yeah, and that would make plenty of sense. I mean, Dan Quinn has kicked the tires on being a head coach over the course of the last few years. It's resulted in him getting pay raises and remaining the defensive coordinator here for the Cowboys. And he and this Cowboys defense have been absolutely dominant for basically the entire duration of his stay here as defensive coordinator. But Adam Schefter, I saw him earlier this week, maybe last week, discussing the idea of a lot of head coach vacancies when the offseason rolls around here. And so if you're talking about 7, 8, 9, 10, he mentioned the number 10, did Adam Schefter, in regards to vacancies. You got to think Dan Quinn will be on the short list for pretty much all of these teams. And a team like the Chargers, where you're like, hey, I'm stepping in and I'm going to have Justin Herbert. Knowing who your quarterback is going to be is huge. A guy like Dan Quinn, he has the ability to, he doesn't have to just jump into any situation. He's not desperate. But a place like the Chargers, I mean, that would make some sense for anybody.
No, it'd make a lot of sense, and I'd seen his name mentioned even for the Raiders. Depending on, we'll see. The one real strength that Dan Quinn has, other than the way that he's able to lead and get his guys to play hard for him, is the fact that he's really good in personnel. He's one of those guys that will roll up his sleeves. He'll go to pro days. He'll work shoulder to shoulder with the scouts. Scouts here have a ton of respect for him, because of what he's just not afraid to have an opinion. Has he been wrong in a couple of guys? Yeah, but there's been some the way this defense is molded to where it is. A lot of it has to do with Dan Quinn going out there and selecting players and helping him with the player personnel department with those evaluations. So anywhere that Dan Quinn is going to go as a scout or front office guy, you love working with guys like that. He's not going to beat you up about, I think this is my guy, and the hell with you kind of thing. No, he works. He's got a lot of respect for what scouts do and the jobs they do, and he understands the importance of it.
Yeah. I mean, I can imagine being a scout and having a coach tell you who's never even met the player, never been out, watched him work,
right,
but just, have seen him in the film room a little bit, and he's got all these, opinions.
All these ideas.
Dan Quinn has opinions, and if you disagree with him as the scout, at least those are well-earned opinions because Dan Quinn's out there. I remember him being at pro days. Here's Sam Williams. He's working him out, all these things, hands-on. And so that's something that's hugely valuable. And KJ Wright speaking to just the level of preparedness that his guys always are. It doesn't matter. No. I remember last year, was it Curse? Somebody gets hurt 5 minutes before the game, and they got to throw in a McQuamu.
Yeah.
You don't miss a beat.
Yeah.
Guys are just prepared, man.
Yeah. He does a great job with that. He really, really does.
Here's KJ Wright, Super Bowl champion linebacker, formerly of the Seattle Seahawks, talking about this Cowboys offense.
When I look at this Cowboys offense, look, guys, we just played Sean McVay. We just played Kyle Shanahan. Two gurus when it comes to calling plays, and they do so much getting your eyes off track, and you so off balance when you're facing them teams. It's an absolute nightmare. When I look at the Dallas Cowboys on film, they're going to simply line up and say, we are better than you. It's not going to be too much stuff pre-snap. It's not going to be all this razzle-dazzle, flashy stuff. We're going to line up. We're going to go 18 stretch, 19 stretch. We're going to get the ball to CeeDee Lamb 10-plus times, and it's effective. I love you guys' offensive line. You got Hall of Famers all across their board, blowing guys off the ball. Dak is playing MVP-type football with 23 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. I love what he's doing. And the biggest question with this Cowboys team is the obvious. Are they playing anyone? Are they blowing out bad teams? So I'm really looking forward to this last stretch of the season.
So
Seahawks, Bills, Eagles. Let's see how they do.
Okay, so KJ Wright on with Sean and RJ this morning talking about this Cowboys offense. I mean, I feel like this Cowboys offense has started to become more multidimensional. It's not just line up, beat the guy in front of you.
Sure.
I think you've seen quite a bit of the pre-snap stuff and the explosiveness to the offense and the personnel groupings and the alignment where you're doing more bunch sets and, here's everything's empty. We don't have a running back on the field, but here's Kavante Turpin coming in motion. I think you've seen some cool new age stuff, and KJ Wright played in an era that didn't quite have all of the pre-snap bells and whistles to the same extent that we see now. So KJ Wright, former NFL linebacker, what do you think about these offenses needing to have all the pre-snap motion?
Well, it's all about having your identity. I don't give a damn what you do. If it's effective, then you're great. But it's all about having an identity as a play caller. Kyle Shanahan, that's his identity. That's what he's going to do. McVay, same thing. And as a defensive player, when you do all this stuff pre-snap, when you do all this stuff post-snap, it's a nightmare. It is hard to stop because your eyes got to go here. You're going from doubles to trips. You're going from having Deebo Samuel at running back, motioning out to receiver. It's just so much communication you have to do on the back end. But if you just line up and tell me that you're going to run the ball straight downhill, you're going to just have this, man-on-man party, hey, let's go. And so I like that as a defender. But it's all about knowing your identity and your style as a play caller.
Yeah, I mean, I would much rather be a linebacker playing against a static offense that doesn't have my eyes going all over the place and my head's on a swivel before the ball's even snapped, So, and the Cowboys, I saw they used motion or shift 76% of the time last week versus the Commanders. I mean, that's a far cry from where this team started out.
Yeah, how about that? All that motion on a short week, too. That just shows you right there that they were usually you're thinking about, well, let's kind of, let's pull things back. No, they went full on. Let's play with these. Let's play with, like as KJ's talking, let's play with the eye level of these defenders.
Yeah, man. I mean, huge credit to this coaching staff, McCarthy, Schottenheimer, and these guys on the offensive side of the ball being able to pivot. I mean, a hard post-bye week pivot that feels like when you watch the offense here, it looks like, hey, these guys have been working on this since the springtime. These guys have been doing this. This was probably what they were doing in Oxnard, and you saw it a little bit in Oxnard, more so than you saw in the first couple of weeks of the season. But now the way they've done it and not really skipping a beat at all offensively with a clear change. I mean, people want to joke about, at the bye week you're not really changing much. Well, the Cowboys defied that this year offensively.
Yeah, the combinations of the routes, even the Turpin touchdown last week, when you get in a tight bunch formation, and then you run Cooks and Ferguson on the outs, and then run Turpin up the hash. But all of a sudden, what have you done? Excuse me. You make the secondary have to adjust to the outs. So now you got movement away from where the vertical route is coming from. And then the Commanders, Dak reads it as Curl, the safety, is playing as a linebacker like he's going to blitz. Well, Dak sees is like, well, nobody's going to cover him. Wait, is this guy going to try and cover him? So as Turpin runs a 40-yard dash, Dak's just going to throw him the football. But it's the combinations of movement and then the combination of the routes that have created space for other guys to get open.
Yeah, it's just setting up defenders to be wrong. And no matter you choose this way, Dak will hit the other one. And he's orchestrating it beautifully. Speaking of Dak Prescott, here's KJ Wright, former Seahawks linebacker, telling you how his perspective on Dak has changed, if at all, since the preseason.
Well, coming into the season, I was like, Dak, protect that dang football. You way too many interceptions, bro. They go look for someone else. And the Trey Lance thing, maybe be the successor, blah, blah, blah. But looking at Dak now, he's a game changer. The guy's a game changer. He can get the football downfield. He can protect the football. Utilizes all of his weapons. Cooks is eating. CD is eating. The tight end, Ferguson, like everyone is eating in this offense. And I just love how he can be effective down the football field, but still be smart and make really good decisions and not put the defense in a bad position. And so if we're talking the best quarterback play right now is Dak Prescott. I didn't say MVP. I said the best quarterback play is Dak Prescott.
How about that? The best quarterback play is Dak Prescott. That's pretty much inarguable over the last month or so of the season. It will have the caveat of poor opponents. There's no question about it. Tonight's the night where you start getting back to NFL quality opponents. You feel like with the Seahawks, not going to be the same test as an Eagles or a Niners, in my opinion, but still a quality opponent stepping in here, and hopefully an opportunity for the Cowboys to start chipping away at the narrative that they just beat up on bad teams and struggle against quality teams. But, I mean, the most 20-plus yard completions in the sport, Dak Prescott, 28, explosive offense. It's been fantastic. All right, tonight's game between the Seattle Seahawks and the Dallas Cowboys at AT&T Stadium is brought to you by Pepsi, made for Cowboys watching. We're live here in the Brad Sham radio booth inside of AT&T Stadium. Let's welcome in his partner, Babe Laufenberg, joins us next right here on The Fan.
Experience the most electrifying event of the holiday season, Cowboys Christmas Extravaganza, powered by Reliant at the Star in Frisco. Every Friday and Saturday night from November 17th through December 16th, Cowboys Christmas Extravaganza.
This is the Dallas Cowboys pregame show.
Fade up and caught. Touchdown, Dallas.
Brought to you by
Bill Nunnally, attorneys and counselors. Jack Link's Beef Jerky. Jack Link's, feed your wild side. Volleman's Dairy, the official milk of the Dallas Cowboys. Texaco. Texaco with Techron delivers unbeatable gas mileage. Texaco with Techron, driving performance. And by Papa John's, the official pizza of the Dallas Cowboys. Papa John's, better ingredients, better pizza.
Just over 2 hours to a primetime Cowboy kickoff Thursday night football here at AT&T Stadium. Cowboys, Seahawks, it's Babe Laufenberg time on the official pregame show of the Dallas Cowboys. Babe, happy game night to you, sir. Broaddus, I think, is a little bit perturbed at me. I don't have much respect for these Seahawks here, Babe. What say you?
You know, they're a good team. They're not the top of the crop there. You know, they're not Philly, San Francisco, Dallas. But they're a good team. They're not like the teams, obviously, that the Cowboys have played the last couple of weeks.
I'll co-sign that. I will co-sign that. This is a step up. This is a step up from
Yes.
Carolina. This is a step up from Tommy DeVito. It's a step up from Riverboat Ron, who fired his defensive coordinator 5 seconds after.
Right.
5 seconds after
Secondary
the game.
coach got let go too at that.
So, just for good measure.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Well, and they fired the offensive coordinator last year. You know, ultimately it's going to be him.
That's right. Yeah, he'll be the last shoe to drop if that's how it goes, right? The shoe drops.
Shoe drops.
Now, Babe, what are you seeing from Geno Smith? Last year, I mean, he has a nice season. He gets the contract. What's different this year to last year?
You know, a lot of people watched that Thanksgiving Day, or night game, I should say, against San Francisco, and he did not play well. That team did not play well. They looked horrible. But he had not practiced all week with the elbow injury, so he had very little practice time. I don't think he threw the ball but a few times that week leading into the San Francisco game. 49ers, not a defense you want to play when you haven't had a lot of work during the week with the game plan. But, you know, I can't look and say, wow, did he catch lightning in a bottle last year? Maybe. But he's an accurate passer now. I don't know how that elbow is. Go be on the field later on and kind of see how he's throwing the football. But he's an accurate passer. They've got weapons on the outside, obviously. And, you know, it's funny, too. Pete Carroll, I listen to all the coaches during the week. I get on the website, the team's website, and I listen to whoever the Cowboys are playing. And every time I've ever listened to Pete Carroll, he's talking about we need to run the ball. We need to run the ball.
Yeah.
We need to get back to running the ball. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's preseason, off-season, first game of the regular season, and here we are in, week 12, 13, and he's talking about we need to run the ball. But he knows against this defense and this pass rush, he knows they can't hold up. And they really need to figure out a way to run the ball tonight.
Can they figure out the way to run the ball? Now they get a couple of, they're starting a rookie at right guard. Anthony Bradford's going to start tonight. So that's a change from Phil Haynes. But they with Abraham at the right tackle spot, I think that gives them a little bit more stability. But what have you seen from Zach Charbonneau, who will likely take over for Kenneth Walker tonight? I'm glad they don't have to play Walker, to be honest with you, Babe. I mean, Charbonneau, I think, is a good player, but I think his running style is completely different from what you see with Walker.
Well, I'm a big Kenneth Walker fan, as probably a lot of people are. I mean, he's good. And Charbonnet, though, he definitely has something to him. Second-round pick. It's funny, too, when Pete Carroll talks about we want to run the ball, he backs it up. They took Rashad Penny in the first round.
Well, that's John Snyder. He can't help himself. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, but
John,
I mean,
Snyder was a running back in college, so he can't help himself.
I love it.
He's
But they back it up.
Yeah.
They back it up, Yeah. Kenneth Walker was a second-rounder last year. Then they come back and get another second-rounder in Charbonnet this year. But, no, I think Charbonnet can do some damage. I saw a lot of him at UCLA. He hasn't been their lead back, but he's averaging 4.6 a carry. And, no, I would not look at him and say, oh, that's a subpar running back there.
They could throw the ball to him as well. The one thing that him coming out of UCLA, I mean, Chip Kelly used him. He had like 500 carries or touches in 2 years. But the one thing he could do is catch the ball, And Have we seen anybody use the running back as a weapon to throw the ball to this year with the Cowboys? Has anybody thrown the ball a bunch? I mean, we used to see with Saquon Barkley and
Chargers, Eckler.
Chargers, but Eckler, they kind of they shut him down in the run game. But,
yeah, they sure did.
It's the only one that comes to mind, though, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny, too, because, Brian, you were of the age of when you had these running backs that were pass receivers. Hey, they had a great one here in Preston Pearson, but the Dave Maggots, you go back, Tony Nathan, Joe Washington from the Washington Commanders, and guys would come out of the backfield, run that little option route, 3rd and 3, there, move the chains, and that position has been really taken by the slot receivers now. You know, you're going 4 wide instead of bringing that back out of the backfield to run those routes. But I love those days when those guys would come out of the backfield. And, again, 3rd down, here comes a little scat back. Again, Maggot, the list goes on and on.
Joe Washington back in the day, too.
Great.
The Commanders.
He was great. I mean, hard to cover. And but, no, you don't see that. You don't see that running back as a pass receiver really much today. I think, Marshall Faulk was that guy.
Yes.
That actually could be a downfield receiver at that running back spot. But it's kind of a dying breed now.
Yeah, McCaffrey's probably the only one keeping that thing extremely alive. Kamara had some nice out of the backfield, but that was short. That was shorter. That wasn't necessarily down the field stuff. But yeah, it's very unique when you have a guy who can do those sorts of things. And so Charbonnet, we think, is a guy who can catch the ball
maybe
in the backfield.
in the game, I think people want to try and screen Dallas too, just because of the pass rush and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So.
Well, go ahead.
No, well, Pete Carroll talked this week also about we need to get the ball out of our hand. Not we, Geno Smith. And he said, we got to get it out. We got to get it out quick. And then he finished it all up by saying, but that's easier said than done.
No question about it. No question about it. I think that's been the game plan for these quarterbacks and coaches every single week coming into their games against the Cowboys.
Babe, I kind of feel like this game could really hinge. And I know we've talked about the Seahawks as an opponent and all that, and you mentioned their wide receivers and all that. I kind of feel like whichever secondary plays best in this game will help their team win this. Whether it's Dallas's secondary covering these. We saw what San Francisco did to these guys on Thanksgiving. They smothered them. They didn't give them anything. But on the flip side of that, I wonder, because the Seahawks have some quality defensive backs as well. Is there a direction you see this thing going, maybe other than the secondaries? Is there something else you're looking at?
No, I mean, really, I think it's going to be, can Dallas stop Seattle's running game? Because if they do, and they put Seattle into a passing mode, or Seattle is sitting there with a lot of 3rd and 6, 7, 8s, it's game over. They will not be able to hold up against the Dallas pass rush. Now, if they can chip away in the running game, Seattle, 4 yards, 5 yards, get it to 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, that kind of thing, I think that's going to really predicate how this game is going to turn out. And you talk about that secondary, Brian, of Seattle. I mean, you talk about a good young secondary.
Right.
I mean, Devin Witherspoon, he's going to be great. He is a heck of a player already. He should be good, right? He was the 5th pick in the draft. But how about getting Reek Woolen, changed his name to Reek. He was Tariq, but now he's Reek. But anyway, Pro Bowler last year as a rookie, 5th rounder. It's amazing. He led the NFL in interceptions last year, tied for the lead out of the 5th round. And now the same draft, Deron Bland is leading in interceptions, as we know here. Both those guys, 5th rounders. Woolen was taking 14 picks before Deron Bland. And I want to ask Will McClay, okay, if you could have taken either one of them at the time, who'd you guys have higher rated?
I'll tell you what.
That's a good question.
I bet you would have taken Woolen, because when you get on the field, babe, go stand next to Woolen.
Oh,
and you'll see why. Because his length, the length that he has, a lot of times there's these these corners that play with speed and quickness. If you have length, that maybe keeps you from having to be this extra steps with this, with the speed and the quickness.
Yeah.
Because you got the length to be able to knock the ball away. You don't have to be right on top of somebody. But when you go stand next to him, you'll get why a lot of people really like this kid as a player.
Well, he's 6'4". Oh, 6'4", long arms. Yeah. Oh, and he's getting better because he was a wide receiver at UTSA.
Right.
They moved him after a couple of years to the other side, which, by the way, he did not want to do. What receiver does want to go over and play defense? None. But then they see what the corners are getting paid in the NFL, and they say, sign me up for that.
Yeah.
Man, I mean, my gosh, with Trayvon Diggs being a guy who was a late switch to the cornerback position, having the type of career he's had to this point, wasn't Deron Bland?
He was a wide receiver at one time.
He was a wide receiver at one time. I mean, that definitely seems like something that more and more we're seeing guys make that transition, and doing it successfully is pretty cool, because there's only so many wide receivers that can go around. At some point, you're Trayvon Diggs, you're at Alabama, and you're like, well, my goodness, look at all these guys. Let me go play. Let me go play a little DB.
It helps a little bit too. And Nick Saban has put so many corners and defensive backs in the league.
Through that,
and all of a sudden he walks in and goes, "Hey, we're going to move you to corner." You know, what are you going to say? Like, well, maybe he thinks I'm going to get drafted in the, and be as successful as he has been.
Well, and I will say, if you're at Alabama and you're lower on the depth chart as a wide receiver, there's no shame in that.
No.
I mean, they just
Not
come
at all.
They come at you first rounder after first round. It's now Ohio State is that school.
Sure.
But, so if you want playing time sometimes at a school like that, they say, hey, let's move over. Here's my question. You know how we always say, well, the guy's, DB drops a ball, right? And they say, well, he's playing DB for a reason because he can't catch. If you have hands like Deron Bland, if you're showing that you're that kind of guy, why don't we move him to offense? Yeah. What do you think?
No, actually, you know what's funny? I just saw a report today, inexplicably, that Patrick Surtain, corner for the Broncos, is much like Greg Olsen, open to the idea of being the head coach of the Panthers.
Yeah.
Patrick Surtain is open to the idea of playing both ways, doing a little offense as well. How about that?
Well, he's right there in the same state where they did it with Hunter, right? So he's like, hey, I kind of like that. I like what's going on there. I could see that. Hey, Dion played a little receiver. I will say this. Receiver is such a technique position, which is why you see some of the young receivers come in and they don't light the world on fire. That it's hard in the NFL to just say, hey, you're a good athlete. Why don't you come over here? The technique of running routes and the nuances of running routes, it's a little more difficult than taking a kid in high school, even college, when you get up to this level, and the guy you're going against has some good technique playing against you.
Well, Babe, speaking of receivers, which one of these three Seahawks receivers scares you the most? Lockett, Metcalf, and Jigba? Who's the guy?
Lockett is the guy for me because he is, to me, the most skilled, polished. I always hate the word underrated because people say, hey, do you think so-and-so is underrated? And my answer is always, well, how do you rate him? I may rate him differently than you do. But if you were to name the top 15 receivers in the NFL and ask fans, people that follow it, Tyler Lockett's name would not be mentioned. And yet, you look at all the numbers, he's right up at the top of a lot of numbers. And, he's smooth. He's such a good route runner that he is the guy, to me. I know you look at DK Metcalf and you see the body and you say, oh, my gosh, how are we going to handle that guy? But the guy, to me, that can hurt you is Lockett. Here, Lockett is one of 4 players with 1,000 yards receiving in each of the last 4 years. The others are Mike Evans, Stephon Diggs, Travis Kelce, names that you would bring up if you said, give me the 4 guys. You would not put Tyler Lockett in there. He's the only player that has 8 touchdowns in each of the last 5 seasons. And again, if you were to ask that question, not give the name, you'd name 30 receivers before you name Tyler Lockett, but he's the guy. So he's the guy I'm worried about tonight.
Babe, when you look on defense for the Seahawks, though, we all understand, like Bobby Wagner is, I kind of feel like he's the glue that really holds this Seattle defense together. With Brooks from Texas Tech, I think is a really good linebacker as well. Talk about with Bobby Wagner, you always have to worry about him making one of those plays. Maybe he's lost a step or something, but you always worry about him making one of those key third down stops, getting in the lane, getting an interception. Is there anything that you want to kind of add on that as what you've seen from Bobby Wagner?
No, to me, he's kind of, if you think of what Stephon Gilmore is at this point in his career at corner, to me, that's Bobby Wagner at linebacker. He's 33 now. You're not going to be the same player playing inside linebacker at 33 that you were at 23. But, 6-time All-Pro. And you're right about the glue. And, he's a guy getting people lined up, getting things together.
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee you when Leonard Williams got traded there, first guy he went to was Bobby Wagner to help him with, the calls and all that kind of stuff. But he's fun to watch. He went away for a year to the Rams and came right back the next year. So I've always enjoyed watching him play. You can see he plays hard. I mean, goes without saying guys play hard, but he's just fun to watch. He anticipates. He's a handful still. Even though he's 33, he's still a handful inside.
Well, babe, you're a beast. We appreciate the time as always, man. Enjoy the game tonight.
All right. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Cowboys fans, Whataburger is rewarding you for helping our local communities. How about this? From now to December 18th, stop by your hometown Whataburger, donate $1 to the Salvation Army, and receive a Whataburger burger with the purchase of a medium fry and a 32-ounce drink. Now, that is fantastic stuff right there. Broaddus, you know what I've been doing lately? I've been getting that patty melt. I'll throw that extra patty on there. You get that triple thing going, and then you mix in the jalapenos. All of a sudden, you get the little spice with the sweet.
So you're creating your own burger for sure.
Whataburger's got it down. I mean, they know what they're doing there, but sometimes you like to add your own little twist. You call a little Omaha check at the line of scrimmage, tweak things a little bit. You don't want them to get your tendencies too much. You know how that is. When you get to the drive-through and they already know what you want, you're like, well, maybe not. Maybe I want to throw a little jalapeno on that patty melt. And I know, Broaddus, you're going to be looking at that bright orange W on your ride home tonight after the post-game show around 1 a.m., and it's going to suck you right in like a tractor beam.
I've got stuff in it, but I did wear my Whataburger socks today.
Nice, dude.
I did break out the Whataburger socks.
When I tell you, I was just a tush-push away from rocking my
You were going to wear one of them.
Sweater
Oh,
today.
the sweater.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe a little bit later in the year you need to wear that one.
Let's get the scoop, ladies and gentlemen. It's a Cowboys game night here at AT&T Stadium. Thursday night football. Christy Scales, best in the business. She'll give us the scoop. Who's in, who's out, plus tonight's player profile. Alongside Chris Arnold, it'll be Kavante Turpin. He found pay dirt last week. He's the speedster. What's he have to say? We'll find out next right here on The Fan. Reporter joining us on the official pregame show of America's Team. We're live in the Brad Sham radio booth of AT&T Stadium, but Christy is out on that beautiful turf. Christy, happy game night to you. How are you?
Happy game night, doing well, although while I enjoy looking at the Seahawks, they're out here in their warm-ups, but they're wearing the royal blue. Of course, they have their throwback jerseys tonight.
Yes.
But when the throwbacks are to the 1990s, I don't know, that hits a little too close to home. I don't like that. Throwbacks should be like 60s and 50s and longer than that, you know?
Christy,
no,
we became
90s is a little too close.
Yeah, we became a franchise, what, 1976?
Yeah, but, you know, the 90s, yeah, I don't know. I guess they just, you know, the Rick Mirer era was so great for them. I guess that's what they want to salute. I don't know.
No Dave Craig
That's
action
a good pull
here?
right there, Christy.
Yeah, I mean, I would think that'd be the 80s, you know. I'd go Jim Zorn, right? But, oh, well.
Yeah, Zorny,
Steve
man.
Largent, yeah.
Well,
yeah, those are my guys.
Jacob Green, there we go, yeah.
Well, these are sharp, though. I mean, this is
Oh,
going to
no,
be
yeah,
pretty aesthetic.
it looks
I like
good.
this, yeah, I do.
As long as they're not wearing that action green, which is that neon green, which they wore against San Francisco,
Watch
which is in
that-
the front to anyone
Yeah.
with a retina. So that's pretty tough. But it's really great because it's going to be real colorful down here on the sideline throughout pregame and for some of the players throughout the game as well, because this is My Cause, My Cleats. So the players, the coaching staff, they'll be wearing cleats that have the logos and the slogans of the causes, the charities that are near and dear to the players and coaches' hearts. And then this is also the game where the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders, their Lucchese boots, all white. Normally the star on the side of the boot is white, but they'll have with different colors on their boots tonight. So it's My Cause, My Boots, and the colors will correspond to the specific causes that are near and dear to the DCC heart. So this is a really fun thing for them to be able to use the platform, the players, the coaches, and the cheerleaders to talk about important things in our community, or some of them come from across the country and some of it is for things back home, but it's a wonderful platform. And then the other thing, guys, I'm really excited. Again, it goes back to how old you are and relative to who your heroes were growing up, but the halftime tonight in which DeMarcus Ware and Chuck Howley received their Hall of Fame rings, that's going to be really special because we have several Dallas Cowboys Hall of Famers who are going to be here tonight on the field, along with Jerry Jones and Jim Porter, who is the president of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. They'll all be here when DeMarcus and then when Scott Howley, the son of Chuck Howley, receive those rings tonight. So it's really a special evening.
Scoop, I'm relying on you this one because we were talking about it with Babe, and the question came up, and I know there's somebody on the field you probably asked. I'm maybe not mentioning names, but did you find out who they had higher on their board with Woolen or Bland?
And this person could not say for sure because they were so close.
That's what I
They think
thought.
that Bland may have been a little bit higher because they didn't think, because Woolen didn't show the same kind of ball skills at the combine and hands that he did as a rookie when he, helped lead the league in interceptions last year. So interesting that those two guys, as you mentioned with Babe, the person who led the league, the 5th-round pick rookie last year, and then the rookie 5th-round pick last year, who this year, Deron Bland, is leading the league in interceptions. It's ironic that they were so close on the board together.
Christy Scales with us here on The Fan. What do we need to know from an inactive standpoint tonight, Christy?
Yeah, so it's Deuce Vaughn, Jalen Brooks, Awesome Richards, Noah Igbenogany, Eric Scott, and then Trey Lance is the emergency third quarterback. So basically the usual suspects. Now, Jalen Brooks, the rookie wide receiver, is inactive because the Cowboys, what they did was they want to go heavy on special teams, and so they elevated from the practice squad rookie tight end Princeton Fant. And so he's going to get a lot of work on teams tonight, all 4 phases. And Coach Fossil tells me that teammates are real, and the coaches are really excited for Fant because he is sturdy, he is tough to move, and the teammates are excited because he's played so well on scout team that they're just, the fact that he actually gets to play in a game, they think that he's really going to show out tonight.
Any relation to the Fant that's playing for the Seahawks?
Yeah, cousin, huh? Isn't that
How
great?
about that?
Yeah,
There you go.
yeah.
You got cousins
so
going at each other tonight.
Yeah, so the fact that your very first NFL game is against the Seahawks and you get to go against your cousin Noah Fant, and of course you play the same position. So not expecting to see Cowboys rookie Princeton Fant at tight end a lot tonight. And if he's playing offense, that means there's an injury situation on the guys in front of him, but he will play a lot of teams. And what's cool about teams tonight is it's going to be a punting showcase because Michael Dixon of the Seahawks and, of course, Bryan Ager of the Cowboys, 2 of the top punters in the league, and they are really at the top of their game right now. But in regards to kickoff returns, the Cowboys think that Kavante Turpin has a chance to make some returns tonight. Maybe even like half of them, because it is not an automatic touchback for the Seahawks when they kick off. So it could be exciting for Turpin tonight.
So you're saying Jason Myers doesn't get the ball down the field very well, is what you're saying.
I'm saying that they think that there may be some opportunities tonight.
Gotcha. Christy, real quick, though, about the tight end situation, though. There was talk that maybe that Hendershot was going to be a guy that was going to potentially, with his window open, but another week here where he doesn't get an opportunity, right?
Yeah, it's that ankle, but it honestly also has to do with, if you bring him off of IR, then you have to clear a spot on the 53-man roster, as opposed to the rookie tight end Princeton Fant, who's on the practice squad. You can elevate him, and then the next day he goes back down to the practice squad.
Christy Scales with us here on The Fan. Christy, did you take a peek at the Red Kettles? Are we in for any more surprises?
I did. I just looked in to make sure, were there any props stuck in there in case there were any celebrations later. And no, there are no props, at least as of an hour ago, in the Kettles. They're still bedazzled, by the way, even though Dolly's not here tonight. But a couple of them, they did kind of smell like leftover turkey and cleats. So not as appetizing as last week, that's for sure.
That is for sure. Christy, you are the best. Is there anything else before we let you go?
No, I think we're all set. There are a lot of Seahawks fans here tonight. I was told there were a lot of them outside tailgating, of course, with all the rain and stuff. I guess they're used to that in Seattle.
They're used to that,
yeah, I'm seeing a lot of neon green in the lower level behind the visiting bench. So they only play here once every 6 years, so it looks like there'll be a fairly decent turnout of Seahawks fans tonight.
All right, Christy, you're the best. Thanks so much. We'll catch up with you next hour.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Brian.
There she goes, Christy Scales, brought to you by Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. It is Miller time, and it is Turpin time. Kavante Turpin, he's today's guest on Chris Arnold's player profile. Chris Arnold, 3-time Hall of Famer. Kavante Turpin getting mixed into the offense, finding pay dirt at times. This is a nice wrinkle, the speed element. I'm excited to hear from Kavante. Take it away, CA.
Kavante Turpin, how you doing, man? I'm doing good, man. How you doing? I'm doing great. Let me see. 4 touchdowns already this year, including that really nice, we call that the extra point to the game, the victory on Thanksgiving. Everybody happy, the celebration in the cattle. Life is good right now, isn't it?
Yeah, man. Life going good, man. Just out here trying to, be the best player I can be right now.
All right, I've noticed that they are using you more and more in certain situations as a wide receiver. You're just not a kickoff returner or a punt returner.
So basically, man, like Mike McCoy, they know Scott Snyder, they know they know my playmaker. So they just trying to find ways that I can be productive on the offense end. Just trying to find ways to give me the ball, and I just feel like, with all the big downs, like third downs and all that, they find ways, put me out there for the defense can, respect me. If they want double CD, and they feel like they're doing a great job of doing it right now.
I'm waiting for the play where you and Cooks are out there and they can't do nothing about it, like pick your poison.
Yeah, man, it's coming soon.
Deep,
man.
I mean, just going deep.
Yeah, it's coming soon, man. We got some stuff in the arsenal right now, so we just trying to be patient, man, with the game plan. Just be ready for when Mike call our number.
All right, so Dak was saying that you taking that second step. In other words, he said the second year with the team, it's like you kind of feel each other a little bit better, the whole 9 years. Can you talk about how you've taken that second step? Because last year, I mean, you made the Pro Bowl as a returner, but you were also the USFL, MVP. It was like a hectic year.
Yeah, I just say, man, the last little 2 years, man, just been a long journey for me. Coming from win the MVP of the USFL, then come here, my first season in the NFL, going to the Pro Bowl. Then coming taking the second league in my second year. I just feel like, man, I'm just way more confident. In my style of play, just coming in. Last year I was just, worrying about all the rules, the NFL rules and all that. And I just feel like, coming in this year, I ain't really too much in my head. I just feel like I'm just confident player like I was in the USFL and just coming in to play football.
Is there a pass that could out-throw you? In other words, you got a lot of speed. Is there any way he could out-throw you?
No, I think there's any way that he can out-throw me. Only how he can out-throw me if I ain't in my top speed yet, he already throw the ball in the defense on me, basically. So that's the only time I think he can overthrow me. But I don't think too many people can overthrow me. I'm going to run under it sooner or later.
All right, speaking of carrying the ball and running the ball being a returner, I know you really impressed at DeRon Bland with those 5 interceptions, those pick sixes, because as a guy that has to go through defenders and run with it, the yak, you got to be impressed with what he does. Can you kind of describe what he's doing?
Man, the crazy thing, man, I met DB. When he won the guy, him and Marski Bill, one of the first guys that I met, coming in training camp last year.
Okay.
So, me, him, and Bill, we real close. I just remember, sitting in our room, just talking about, how we're going to take a big jump in our second year. And, how all 3 of us, me, DeRon Bland, and Marquise Bill, all having a good year in our second year. I just feel like, man, we all talked about this, just look back on it and just see what we was talking about. I'm just so happy for DB, man, just coming out here, bro. Just doing him, man. He don't really talk that much,
quiet guy.
Yeah, just being the player that he is, man. I'm happy for him.
Tonight you got Seattle. Can you give me a quick scouting report on their defense? I understand it's very physical.
Yeah, their physical defense, they stay in cover 3 a lot. They play a lot of zone. So I just feel like we go out there and just play our brand of football, Cowboy style. And I feel like we'll be all right. But they do got a lot of speed, a lot of toughness. They play with a lot of grit. We just got to go out there and just play Cowboy football.
And lastly, you guys have won 13 straight home games. Is something special about playing in front of all these Cowboy fans at AT&T?
Man, like they say, man, it's our home, man. We got to protect our home, bro. And that's what we do, man, each and every week, bro. It's hard to come in here and win in Dallas.
Good luck tonight, Kavante Turpin.
I really appreciate you.
Thank you, CA. Thank you, Kavante Turpin. There's no question the Cowboys have been very, very special at home. 13 straight victories here at AT&T Stadium. Looking to make it 14 versus the Seahawks. Christy just told us those Seahawks fans are traveling well, but Dallas is outscoring opponents by 29 points per game at home this season. That, of course, is the largest margin in the league. But Kavante Turpin's been a nice wrinkle to this offense, Broaddus.
No, he's done a really nice job, and what they've done is they've found ways to incorporate him. And and he's a good blocker when you put him out there. Usually you think small guy, okay, we're going to run the ball, and you're giving something up there. With him, he will mix it up. He's got some toughness about him because of his special team stuff, but they've also found ways to use his speed. And when they put him on the move, the touchdown he had last week was a play where it was just a 40-yard dash against the safety that was down in the box. So give the coaching staff credit for finding ways. It's just not like a gadget guy. You could legitimately put him out on the field and he's going to make some plays for you.
Man, the level of difficulty there and the impressive nature that you were able to give me that football analysis while fighting through the remnants of the Fritos brisket mac and cheese balls here at AT&T Stadium. That was very impressive, Broaddus.
I'll tell you what, man.
You housed the brisket, the fried
I got
brisket.
2 left.
You got 2 left? Okay.
I got 2 left.
Okay, you crushed it. It was a dominant first half.
I was hoping you were going to throw this thing to break so I could finish this off.
I know you were. I wanted to watch you play on Hall of Fame mode, man.
Yeah.
We cranked up the level of difficulty on you, and you passed with flying colors.
Thank you.
Legends Hospitality is at it once again, ladies and gentlemen. If you're making your way over to AT&T Stadium for tonight's Thursday night football action, Cowboys Seahawks, my dear God, you are in for a treat. Fritos brisket mac and cheese balls. Okay. House smoked bent buckle brisket and famous Cowboys mac and cheese breaded with barbecue Fritos and fried, served on a bed of mac and drizzled with sour cream, topped with green onions. Broaddus, you are
excellent.
a happy camper right
I've had
now,
2
sir.
of them and a couple of bites. It might be the best thing that we've had yet from Legends.
And all the while, I mean, you're housing the brisket mac and cheese balls that are delightful. You're giving ideal Cowboy sports analysis. You, sir, are in mid-season form.
I was thinking
you're in
you were
your
going to
bag
take
right
this
now.
thing to break. I
know.
really was.
Caught you off guard. All right, here we go. 877-881-1053. Just over 90 minutes to kick off. Cowboys, Seahawks. Let's give you some matchups to watch. And what's the latest on Shaq Leonard coming up next right here on The Fan.
Dallas, the jackpots for Mega Millions, Powerball, and Lotto Texas are big and getting bigger every day. And you can now buy your official Texas lottery tickets right from your phone at jackpot.com, an official partner of the Dallas Cowboys. Just go to jackpot.com, choose your favorite lottery game, pick your lucky numbers, and get your winnings instantly. Plus, right now, get a free lottery ticket with your first play. Don't wait. Go to jackpot.com right now and buy your lottery tickets on your phone. Go to jackpot.com. That's jackpot.com. Paid for by jackpot.com. You must be 18 or older to order a lottery ticket. Please play responsibly. If you or somebody knows a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
It's big, it's good, and it's only for Cowboys fans. It's the Cowboys Special from the Cowboys and Papa John's. Get a large one-topping pizza for only $9.99. That's right, Cowboys fans. Get a large one-topping pizza for only $9.99 every day of the week. It's America's team. It's America's pizza. It's the Cowboys Special. Order today, in person, on the phone, or online. Better ingredients, better pizza. Papa John's.
brought to you by
Volleman's Dairy, the official milk of the Dallas Cowboys. Texaco. Texaco with Techron delivers unbeatable gas mileage. Texaco with Techron, driving performance. Arrow Exterminators, official pest control provider of the Dallas Cowboys. Buffalo Wild Wings. Blockchain.com. Make your crypto play today. And by DallasCowboys.com. Keep track of the boys with daily podcasts and up-to-the-minute blogging at DallasCowboys.com.
Just over 90 minutes to kick off Cowboys Seahawks Thursday night football here on your home of the Cowboys, 105.3 The Fan. Great to have you in. 877-881-1053. Broaddus, I know you're going to like this. Mike and Caddo Mills, our guy in the 469, got the Miller going as always. But tonight, the wife's cooking, so I caught a break. Yeah, our guy Mike, he's always bringing it strong with the pregame meals, with the tailgate meals. But wife's on duty tonight. Still got that Miller Lite going. So shout out to you, Mike and Caddo Mills. We appreciate you very much. 877-881-1053. Who's the Cowboy that's made the biggest impact this year? That was least expected. Sort of the biggest surprise to be a guy who's hugely impactful, because we just heard from Kavante Turpin. And we knew what type of return impact he could have on this team. Not a return impact that would bring him to the end zone, because there's something about that last defender that shakes him up a little bit. But quality returns, we knew that. We weren't sure how he would impact the offense, but he's been huge.
He has been huge. The guy for me that I look at is Marquise Bell.
Oh, yeah.
And where, Marquise Bell, where he came in, the safety group we kind of felt like was maybe a strength of this defense with the players. And you were thinking, well, where does Marquise Bell fit into this? And then all of a sudden in training camp, the way that he was able to play and showing up at practice, showing up in the games, sure tackler. And all of a sudden now you're having injuries to some of the, with Van Der Esch and others, Overshown, all these guys, the guys that you were thinking about were going to help you at linebacker, no longer available.
Yeah.
And so Marquise Bell, me personally, I love what he's done. This is why Shaq Leonard makes a lot of sense to me. Just because I feel like that I could play Shaq in that role of the linebacker, but I could also use Bell to play in coverage and some other things that he was, some of the things that he, that he can also do. Like instead of just playing linebacker, there's other things that he could help you with in that defense. He could play down, play in the box, he has to, but he could go play in coverage. He could go take a tight end. These are all things like when he's playing linebacker, he's that's his job. But if you have him where he has the availability for other roles within the defense, he's playing really, really well for you. He's a guy that I think that I've been super surprised about, but the way he's been really consistent throughout.
Yeah, it's a great name. I think you're 100% right. He's got to be at the top of that list to be a top 10 graded linebacker by places like Pro Football Focus, and I know the film has reflected it as well in your eyes there, Broaddus, where Marquise Bell stepped in like a beast in coverage for sure. So we'll see how it goes, but now we welcome in our Cowboys insider, Bobby Belt, one half of the Love of the Star podcast, the biggest Cowboys podcast going. And we have the full crew here now with Broaddus and Bobby Belt. Bob, happy game day, sir. How are you?
Happy game day. How are y'all?
We're doing wonderful. We were just discussing the biggest impact this season that you least expected, because we heard from Kavante Turpin, player profile. He's obviously been a shot in the arm with the speed offensively. That's been a bit of a surprise based on what he did offensively last year, which was basically nothing. Broaddus gives you Marquise Bell. I don't know how you top Marquise Bell.
We're going positive, right?
Positive, yes. We're going positive, yes.
Tyron Smith. I thought the guy we saw last year was a guy who was well past his prime, and this year he has put up some vintage Tyron Smith performances. And so for me, I think that Tyron is a big surprise. That's one that I would go with. I'd also say after what we'd seen the first several weeks, like if you want to talk about it from a midseason point, I didn't think this offense would get to this point after 5 weeks. Like when I saw what that offense looked like after 5 weeks, I didn't think the passing game could do what they've done the last 6 weeks. So that's a big positive one, an adjustment from in the season. And then I think just from what my expectations were, I didn't think that Tyron Smith would play as well as he has.
I think all those are fair points. I would agree with you on the Tyron Smith front. And the offense, I mean, the biggest surprise of the season, not just any one individual, has to be the turn that the offense made after the bye week. And now we're at a place where Dak Prescott leads the league in passes for 20 or more yards. And I know he's your MVP.
I mean, he's on pace to lead the NFL in touchdown passes, and he was, at 5 through 5 weeks? I mean, the way that he's played over these last 6 weeks has been substantial. Those 18 touchdowns, being named NFC Offensive Player of the Month for the first time in his career. So it's certainly something that I don't think anybody anticipated, especially if you consider where it was after that San Francisco game.
Where did it change? What made this change, Bobby?
I think that there was a lot of feedback from players after the San Francisco game. I think there was just a lot of healthy discussion as to, hey, we like some of this, we like what works here, this over here, those kind of things. CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott talked about how after the San Francisco game, how they kind of cleared the air and talked as a group and just said, hey, this is where things stand. This is what we want. Hey, if you want the ball more, if you think you're open, talk to me. Don't worry about how it looks to the media. Come talk to me. I think they all put aside after that butt whooping they got at the hands of the 49ers. I think they all put aside the optics of it. And they said, we're not concerned about any of this. We just need open communication. We need to talk. We need to get this thing sorted out. And to Mike McCarthy's credit and to the coaching staff's credit, I think they took a lot of that advice. You see it on the sounds from the sideline that the Cowboys put out, where Brandon Cooks is talking about, hey, there wasn't a certain play in there that I think would work, and gave that feedback to the coaching staff. Hey, I'd really like it if we could put this in there as a request for me. They put it in there. They call the play. Brandon Cooks scores a touchdown on it on Thanksgiving. And so I think that's the biggest turn. I think it was just communication and trial and error and realizing, hey, some of this stuff just is not going to be a fit for the guys we have.
Bobby Belt with us here on The Fan. What do you see from this Seahawks team? I don't have much in the way of respect for them. I know they're better than the Panthers. I know they're better than the Commanders, the Giants. Okay, fine. But I don't think you're talking about what is really ahead in the Eagles, the Bills, the Lions. Okay, this is like a soft opening into what is going to be the toughest stretch of the season.
Yeah, and don't forget the Dolphins on Christmas Eve there. That one too.
That's a good call.
That's one you got to consider as well. Yeah, this is the very opening volley of the toughest stretch of their season. This is probably the one that you feel the best about, and this is a Seahawks team that is not playing really well the last 4 weeks. And so what I think you've got here is what would be, to this point, probably their best victory of the season in terms of the best team they've played. I mean, you can make an argument that the Chargers are a little messy, but they're a very talented team going on the road, doing that off of a San Francisco loss that was really devastating to the team. You could make that argument, but this would be probably the best team they've beaten this year, given the losses to Philly and San Francisco. And so you don't want to minimize it at all. It's a nice, prep for what's coming up in these next couple weeks. But yeah, this is not by any means, I think, the team that you may have played 6 weeks ago if you would have gotten them. They've had their struggles.
Yeah, and Vegas is telling you you're a 9-point favorite. I think you end up winning by that or potentially even more. We shall see. But Bobby Belt with us here on The Fan. When it comes to Shaq Leonard, are we fully on board here with bringing him in?
Yeah, in terms of just the desire to get him here, yeah, I think so. Now, this is going to be something where you're obviously, I know Brian Baldinger told you guys on the afternoon show yesterday that it's something where he thinks that he's probably leaning a little bit towards Dallas, but this is I think regardless, as Nick Eatman from DallasCowboys.com put, I think regardless, he's in AT&T Stadium next Sunday.
Yeah.
Now, which team is he playing for? That's what you're trying to figure out, which locker room he's going to be on. But I think that it's going to come down to the Cowboys and the Eagles. And the fact of the matter is that if he walked in the door right now for whatever you want to say about maybe he's regressed a little or maybe he's got the injury concerns or whatever else, he walks in the door and he's the best linebacker on the team, the best pure linebacker on the team, I think. And so, absolutely, if you can add a difference maker like that to the defense, to a position that you're really thin at, something that you've probably had concerns about since DeMarvion Overshown went down with that ACL tear in the preseason, if you can get that, I think that you have to do whatever you can within your means to make it happen. And to their credit, I think they're going to do whatever it takes to make that happen. It's just a matter of, do you get the thumbs up or the thumbs down from Shaq Leonard?
Do you give the thumbs up for tonight? Broaddus has been suggesting maybe throwing Deron Bland in the mix in the slot, in the nickel spot where he was so dominant last year and would still be there had not the Trayvon Diggs injury happened. Jordan Lewis been a bit of a liability. we know the Seahawks like to put their best receivers in the slot. Would tonight be a nice night to mix that in, you think?
Yeah, I don't think that that's a bad play. Or, let's say you don't want to do that. Let's say you want to keep DaRon Bland outside. We've talked, this week, I know Bryan's talked about it, Patrick Walker, DallasCowboys.com, the idea of maybe you give Wagner Thomas some work there inside at the nickel, where when he's been asked to step up and do it, he's done well. The Seahawks are not a team where it's like, Tyler Lockett is not just 100% of the time in the slot. That's the only guy. They'll put DK Metcalf in the slot sometimes. They'll put Lockett in Jigba. They will rotate guys. So knowing that they like to do that, they will say, what is the best possible matchup we can get on Jordan Lewis at any given moment? Let's do that. Let's mix and match that. Let's make that happen. So whatever it may be, if it's because you decide, hey, let's work DaRon Bland in the nickel some, or if it's just, hey, let's make sure that Jordan Lewis doesn't ever get matched up on whichever receiver, so let's have DaRon Bland travel with that guy, and so naturally he ends up in the slot. If it's that way, that's fine. But I think that if you just commit to Jordan Lewis is the nickel, and he's in the nickel regardless of who lines up inside of there, then Seattle's going to take advantage of that, and they're going to hit you for some plays.
I don't think they have a real answer other than maybe Wagner Thomas.
Yeah.
If something were happen where Jordan Lewis doesn't play up to the level of where they need to play in the side. The thing that worries me, I know that people talk about Seahawks, they're worried about them running the ball or trying to run the ball. I worry about the receivers more.
Yeah.
I do. I just worry about Dallas and, can Dallas hold up? And they're the corners and, they've played well. They really have. But I think this is a different test.
Yeah.
I think this is a different test when you talk about the size of Metcalf, you talk about the quickness and the elusiveness of the other two.
Yeah, I think when you talk about receivers versus the secondary, that matchup of the passing game versus the secondary, you're talking about the best possible matchup that the Cowboys have gotten this year as an argument. Like, you could say this is the biggest challenge that they've gotten, that the Cowboys corners have gotten in terms of a group of receivers. And you could say that it's the best group of corners that the Cowboys receivers have seen. So they're going to be tested in the passing game on both sides.
I love it. Bobby, you're a beast. Thanks for the time, brother.
I love you all.
All right, there he goes. Bobby Belt, our Cowboys insider, brought to you by Papa John's. It's big, it's good, and it's only for Cowboys fans. The Cowboys special from Papa John's, a large one-topping pizza for only $9.99. Order today. Better ingredients, better pizza. Papa John's, the official pizza of the Dallas Cowboys. It is your official pregame party of the Dallas Cowboys here on your home of the Cowboys, 105.3 The Fan, live at AT&T Stadium, inside the Brad Sham radio booth, getting you set for Thursday night football. Cowboys and Seahawks. Let's go inside the matchup, inside the numbers, and we'll hear from head coach Mike McCarthy, all coming up next, right here on 105.3 The Fan.
Experience.
The Dallas Cowboys Radio Network is on the air.
Touchdown, Cowboys!
With Brad Sham, Babe Laufenberg, Christy Scales, Eric Chiofalo, and Bryan Broaddus. Brought to you by
AT&T, the official partner of the Dallas Cowboys. Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. It's Miller time. And by blockchain.com. Make your crypto play today.
Also brought to you by
Bill Nunnally, attorneys and counselors. Jack Link's Beef Jerky. Jack Link's, feed your wild side. Volleman's Dairy, the official milk of the Dallas Cowboys. Texaco. Texaco with Techron delivers unbeatable gas mileage. Texaco with Techron, driving performance. And by Papa John's, the official pizza of the Dallas Cowboys. Papa John's, better ingredients, better pizza.
Now here's Eric Chiofalo and Bryan Broaddus.
Just over an hour to kick off prime time Thursday night football. Cowboys and Seahawks. Cowboys looking to make it 14 straight home victories. They are on an absolute tear right now. The Seahawks have been spiraling a little bit, but this is a quality opponent. The first quality opponent these Cowboys have seen in a few weeks. In a few weeks, to say the least. Bryan Broaddus, you're a former Cowboy scout, Super Bowl champion. We're here on the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network, and we got a big-time game to break down here. So what do you see from these Seahawks when you look at their offense and you look at Geno Smith and there's no Kenneth Walker? They got the rookie Zach Charbonnet running the football, and then they got quite the trio at wide receiver.
They do, Eric, and that's the thing that worries me the most, and we've talked about that throughout the pregame show, is how will the Cowboys match up against this Seahawks secondary. But the Seahawks are going to get some good news at their right tackle spot, and going into this game, the more that you broke down the Seahawks, when you break them down, the things that they were struggling with was with the right tackle. Stone Forsythe was not very good. And then you look at Jason Peters, not very good. They had some problems over there, and so they get back one of their key members with Abraham Lucas as the right tackle. He'll give them some stability. He gives them a little bit more power over there, and but it's his first time back in the lineup since in week 11 when they put him on that designated him for the return. But they're starting a rookie at right guard too, and that's something you always kind of worry about. Anthony Bradford from LSU, big guy. When you start to talk about up front, that power, you're going to try and run the football, something that Pete Carroll would like to do. But are they committed? How committed are they going to be to running the ball? I think they understand tonight that they have to run the football, just because they can't hold up, I don't think, against this Cowboys pass rush if, in fact, it turns into one of those games. But there is some concern with these receivers for the Seahawks. They just haven't got them going like they had them going early in the season.
Well, let's continue the preview here, brought to you by Sleep Number, the official sleep and wellness partner of the Dallas Cowboys. You mentioned that Seahawks rushing attack, and they're desperate to get it going. Over the last 4 weeks, Seattle ranks 24th in expected points added per rush, and has been one of the worst in the league at generating explosive carries. So the Seahawks have played the majority of their last 2 games without Kenneth Walker. Since he went down, Broaddus, he had the oblique injury.
Happened in the Rams game.
That's right.
Yeah.
They are the only team without a run of at least 12 yards.
Yeah.
So that is, even if Seattle's game plan is to run the ball more, they're going to need to run it obviously more effectively and garner some more chunk plays.
It's their offensive line. They've had the right tackle and the right guard. That situation has been bad for them. It's very similar to with the Cowboys played in Arizona, and all of a sudden you take 3 offensive linemen out of the game, and then everybody says, well, those 3 linemen weren't a problem. They weren't the reason why you lost that game. When you have issues on your offensive line, and we've seen the Cowboys have some issues on their offensive line. The continuity, we've seen them run the ball much better now. We're seeing them get the ball to the perimeter, make some of those runs. We're seeing Tony Pollard look better carrying the ball. But this group has now played together for 4 or 5 games.
Yeah.
Whereas as before, it seemed like they was in and out of the lineup, and there was really not that continuity. I think the Seahawks are dealing with the same thing. But they get a couple of guys back, and we'll see with Zach Charbonneau. Me personally, watching them play, I'm glad that Kenneth Walker is not going to play tonight. Me personally. I think that when he's the one guy that if they do get the game going, if they do get the running game going, it would be because of him, the power that he runs with. He's got a little bit more wiggle, the elusiveness. With him out of the lineup, you're now dealing with a straight line guy in Zach Charbonneau. But
right.
A guy that can catch the ball very, very well, but a very, very tough runner.
So the Cowboys should have a good opportunity getting after Geno Smith tonight?
I would hope so. Now, it would have been a lot better if, in fact, that Forsythe and Jason Peters were playing right tackle. But we'll see. With Phil Haynes being out, the rookie at guard, can Osa, can Parsons, can anybody that lines up inside at guard take advantage of Anthony Bradford in this game?
Well, Osa's been an absolute animal.
He has.
And we know about what Micah's been able to do on the interior.
Yeah, when you get Micah one-on-one with a center, that usually is a good – Micah has had so much success with centers that can't handle his power and his quickness.
Yeah.
That he takes advantage of, and that's a direct path to the quarterback right there. On the edge, we've seen him. We saw Trey Phillips for the Giants, backup tackle, block him in that game. With against the Giants several weeks ago, where they held him off the stat sheet. But Micah's come back. Micah the following week was like we always kind of know about him. But again, I could see Dan Quinn moving him around and trying to kind of find a spot for him. Charles Cross on the other side, I think, is a good tackle, a good left tackle. So I don't know how many reps I want to waste over there against Charles Cross because I think he could kind of match up well with Micah. But I'm moving him around. I'm moving at the guard spot, and I'm going to see what's going to happen there at center. Against Evan Brown.
The passing attack for the Seahawks has been underwhelming over the course of the last month or so, but they got big-name receivers. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, the first-round pick, Ohio State, Rockwall's own, a man who's dominated in this building before back in high school, Jackson Smith and Jigba. Which of those 3 guys should be the priority?
I worry about Lockett. Is who I worry. I mean, Lockett, the vertical game is going to come from Metcalf. You can look at the stats, the metrics, and all that. The ball's going to go down the field to him. They're going to try and hit him on a deep shot once or twice in this game and see if the Dallas corners can run with him, stay with him, play the ball down the field.
You think they'll test Gilmore in those scenarios?
I think that they could test Bland too. Okay. You could try and stutter go and take off and see how aggressive Bland really wants to be in this game. But the thing that with Lockett, he's done it for such a long time.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys that you kind of feel like though he could they're going to put him in the slot, maybe motion him, maybe get him on the move. He is a super reliable receiver when it comes to catching the football. And if the Cowboys, you get a lot of man coverage and all of a sudden he's running and he's looking and he's finding space and there's getting separation and Geno can get him the ball, he has the capability of making plays.
All right, well, let's go inside the numbers. Brought to you by Papa John's, the official pizza of the Dallas Cowboys. Better ingredients, better pizza. It is Papa John's. And the Cowboys, man, at home, outscoring opponents by 29 points per game at home this season. That's the largest margin in the league. They've been absolutely outstanding. 13 consecutive wins here at AT&T Stadium. Dallas has scored over 65% of the points scored in their games this season. The highest rate in the league, meaning just like all the points that get scored in any given game that the Cowboys are playing in, the Cowboys are scoring over 65% of those points in any given game. They've been very, very special. And at home, there's no doubt about it. What is the Seahawks going to try and do defensively to slow down what the Cowboys have been able to do offensively?
Yeah, I don't think the Seahawks are really interested in letting CeeDee Lamb go off in this game. You're going to see a lot of zone coverage. You're probably going to see some bracketing of CeeDee Lamb, and the Cowboys do a great job of moving him around, the motion, the ability to go across, maybe motion away from the line, motion away from the offensive line. They do things to try and get him on the move so you can't bracket him. Play a lot of bunch coverage. When you play bunch, you can't bracket him there. I don't think the Seahawks are interested in letting him go off. I think the Seahawks have to be a little bit concerned, though, about are you finding traction in the running game, especially on the perimeter. You know, the Cowboys last week against the Commanders knew the inside was going to be a little bit difficult for them to run the ball.
Yep.
Found some weakness on the outside. I wouldn't be surprised if you see 2 or 3 plays probing and trying to kind of find out, okay, can we get the ball to the edge? If we could get the ball to the outside. And they've got a couple of corners. We'll see, you know, when you run it Witherspoon, the corner there, he's a little bit more aggressive than what you get with Woolen on that other side. So, you know, be mindful of what direction you're going to run the ball in. But the Seahawks have struggled to play run defense. I would like to see the Cowboys can find some balance in today's game.
Are you starting to believe a little bit more in this rushing attack offensively?
I think that
the Cowboys?
Because what I've seen is we're starting to see more explosive runs from Pollard.
Right.
You know, and if you believe in metrics and next-gen stats and all that, they measure miles per hour. Several runs of over 15 miles per hour for Pollard. That to me is starting to tell me that things are starting to come back, and they're getting him in space, and they're getting him downhill, and they're getting him into where he could go and just accelerate and make these plays. That 3rd and 6 play that they ran the other day where they handed him the ball on the outside, and next thing you know, it's a gain of 14 yards. That thing happened quick, very quick.
Yeah, it seems like the further removed he is from the injury that he suffered in the playoffs versus the Niners last year,
the better
seems like
he's
better he's getting. Over the last 3 games, Tony Pollard forced 15 missed tackles after forcing just 8 over the first 8 games of the season. So if this Cowboys rushing attack is going to get going, then my goodness gracious, watch out, because the passing attack is absolutely on fire. It's the official pregame show of America's team, just getting started here in lead up to Cowboys Seahawks Thursday Night Football on the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network. Let's get you the Coach's Corner. Christy Scales standing by with Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy. That's coming up next. You're listening to the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network.
in these for Blakeman and his crew, and then illegal contact. So once again, offensive holding, defensive pass interference, delay of game, defensive holding, roughing the passer, and illegal contact. Those are the penalties that they've called the most so far this season.
Love it. Thank you so much, Bryan Broaddus, Super Bowl champion, former Cowboy scout, giving us the goods here on the official pregame party of America's team live at AT&T Stadium, the Brad Sham radio booth. Coming up next, let's continue to get to know the enemy as we approach kickoff. Cowboys and Seahawks. We'll go into the owner's box with Cowboys owner and general manager Jerry Jones. Dallas Cowboys football will continue in a moment.
Tom Thumb's new drive.
Under 45 minutes to kick off Thursday night football. The Cowboy players have just taken the field. Dak Prescott leading the charge. CeeDee Lamb bouncing around out there looking good in the white tops and the silver pants. You got the throwback uniforms for the Seahawks. Thursday night football at AT&T Stadium. Cowboys looking to make it 14 straight home victories versus Geno Smith and Pete Carroll. We'll get to know the enemy here in just a moment, but right now we go into the owner's box with Christy Scales and Cowboys owner and general manager Jerry Jones.
Well, Jerry, a very special night. I'd like to thank you for inviting 93,000 people to the birthday party tonight.
You're not 26 every day, so we really needed to call out the dogs, and that's coming out here, but I hope you have at least 74 more.
Thank you so much. And what's really awesome about tonight is I'm so excited about the halftime because DeMarcus Ware and Chuck Howley, of course, Scott Howley, his son, on Chuck's behalf, receiving their Hall of Fame rings. Now, where do you keep your Hall of Fame ring? Are you wearing? There's one that's on display at the Star in Frisco that we see on the tour. Is that the real one, or is that a replica?
That's the real one. Okay. That is the real one, and you're absolutely right. That one doesn't come out, but every now and then I don't have it on tonight, and the main reason is I'm superstitious, and so I don't have any of those rings on. Haven't had it with our games here for the last 12 or 13 games. So whatever I've been doing 12 or 13 times, that's what you see tonight.
What did it mean for you when you got your ring, and what do you think that DeMarcus and Scott will feel tonight?
Well, it's awesome, and when you really realize how many men and women have been involved in the NFL to make this game what it is today. And certainly that bunch gets recognized. But as we know, football is such a team sport. We have 30 coaches. We have 80 players, or maybe 86, to be very candid with you, 86 players, so that one player can catch the ball, the other one throw it, and 5 or 6 of them block. It's the antithesis of a team game. Takes a lot of people involved. And that's what we have with the Dallas Cowboys in the NFL. So I thought, boy, when I got involved, I said, it is just an amazing thing to think about what all it takes to put the show on and then to get to be recognized. So it's awesome.
Well, I want to ask you about two of your players tonight, two of your stars, because Dak Prescott and Deron Bland are the offensive and defensive players of the month. Only the second time in NFL history the players from the same team have been honored as such. What does that mean to you? It obviously shows what a great role the Cowboys are on, but for those two men personally.
Well, of course, it's wonderful to have them and have them making those plays that get that kind of recognition. They both will tell you they'd rather have some plays tonight than to have that recognition on this football field. And that really is what it's all about. But make no mistake about it, that's really rare, and it gives a good idea, frankly, what kind of job Mike McCarthy and his staff are doing along with their teammates. So let's start another player out here tonight, get him on the run. Let's just add to Prescott's hyperbole. Let's add the Blands, and then let's add 2 more to it to give them a horse race.
Appreciate it, Jerry. Thanks so much. That's the view from the owner's box. And as we continue counting down to kickoff, let's rejoin Eric and Bryan.
Thank you, Christy. And tonight's owner's box is brought to you by Papa John's. Better ingredients, better pizza. Papa John's is the pizza. And when you talk about the Hall of Fame rings, I mean, that is going to be pretty fun stuff tonight. And Chuck Howley is a guy that you're very familiar with. For the young folks closer to my age, Broaddus, what was Chuck Howley like as
I'll tell
player?
you what, when you talked about linebacker play, the Cowboys have had a great history of linebacker play. Chuck Howley, only MVP ever from a losing team on a Super Bowl. You know, when they played the Baltimore Colts, he was the MVP. And so that just tells you how much the respect that he had, but the type of player that he was, guy that was a sure tackler. You know, him, Leroy Jordan, those old Cowboy defenses were just, you know, they were so, even in that era, the swarming with Bob Lilly and others, Larry Colt, the way that they played, they got after a quarterback. And usually when they got after the quarterback, there was some kind of violence involved, like a club to the head or something. It was some crazy football, but these guys were super tough. Chuck Howley was one of those guys, always around the ball. He was a guy that, like, wherever the ball was, he was involved. It was to the outside, the perimeter. He had the ability to flow to get to the outside. Ball gets tipped in the air, or he's like in coverage, he's going to intercept it. So he was a guy that was pretty impressive the way that he played. And, it's a shame, though, that he wasn't put into the Hall of Fame earlier.
Yes.
Because of the situation now with his son having to get in the ring and all that. But, what a great honor for him to be a part of those great players.
I know it warmed your heart when you saw Chuck Howley finally got the nod, though.
Oh, no, absolutely. And there's guys like the Chuck Howleys, the Harvey Martins. My big one now is Darren Woodson. Need to get Darren Woodson into that Hall of Fame.
Yes, Woody, he's a surefire Hall of Famer. That is one of the biggest errors in Hall of Fame induction history, not having Darren Woodson on the inside of the shrine there in Canton. There's no question about that. It's funny, you brought up the Hall of Fame rings, and I guess Jerry keeps his Hall of Fame ring in the Star. And you're a guy with a pretty important ring yourself with that Super Bowl ring.
Yeah.
How often does that make an appearance? How often does that thing see the light of day?
I don't wear that very often. I really, really don't. But I you know what? To me, I'm just kind of one of those guys that I'm super proud I have it. And you just one day, you look at it and it reminds you that one time in your life you weren't a loser.
There was that one day.
There's a lot of things that people could say about you, but for one time in your life, you were not a loser that day.
And then you put your lips on Lombardi that night.
There we go.
That was your favorite kiss?
One of my favorite kisses. Kiss? Absolutely, yeah. That cigar after that game was pretty special.
All right, let's get to know the enemy. Tonight's enemy, of course, is the Seattle Seahawks. We get to know the enemy brought to you by Arrow Exterminators, the official pest control provider of the Dallas Cowboys. And, their defense has been, not something that is what they would consider a dominant Legion of Boom, Dan Quinn, old school championship Seahawks defense, especially as of late. And I was reading, in The Athletic, they talk about how Seattle's defense, they contributed to a win over the Browns in Week 8. But that's the last time that unit left the field in the fourth quarter feeling like it did its job. Since then, the defense has struggled to close games. These Seahawks, man, I mean, the Baltimore Ravens put up 20 second-half points against them. They didn't even punt. The Ravens didn't even punt after the first quarter of that game. The Commanders, Sam Howell goes back-to-back touchdown drives in the fourth quarter. That was in Week 10. You had Matthew Stafford going 68 yards and 75 yards, scoring drives to close out the fourth quarter in Week 11. And then last week, Thanksgiving, San Francisco, they give up 24 first-half points. And so it's been a bit of a struggle for that defense. And now coming into AT&T Stadium tonight, Broaddus versus Dak Prescott, who is on the heels of his first ever Player of the Month. This is going to be a tall task for the Seahawks tonight.
Yeah, it will be a tall task. And the one thing the Cowboys have been able to do is they do a great job with their offense. The line is coming together. You're starting to see a little bit of the running game. These receivers, we've talked about it for weeks. How do you get, Brandon Cooks involved? And all of a sudden you get Brandon Cooks involved. The last couple of weeks, he's been your leading receiver. So, you got all these offensive weapons, the line playing better. You'll see the running game. So yeah, the Seahawks are in for a little bit of a fight tonight. And but they've got secondary help. The one thing that they do have is secondary help. I don't know, can they put enough pressure on Dak Prescott in this game to effect? I think the Cowboys are going to try and run the football. Mm-hmm. If they have some success, I could see them continually do it. But, this is going to be one of those games where, the strength, in my opinion, of the Seahawks defense is that secondary. So I'm trying to kind of avoid that. If you could run the ball, run it with some consistency, and stay ahead of the chains, and don't put yourself in some bad situations down and distance-wise where you're having to throw the ball against the secondary, well, then, this game should be pretty good for you.
A lot of zone coverage, I know that. What about from a blitzing standpoint? Do they bring a lot of pressure?
They're kind of mid-pack when it comes to blitz.
Okay.
Like I say, ton of zone. They've played almost 94% zone coverage the last 2 weeks. And I wonder if it has to deal with like a veteran quarterback when you're talking about, and I know the guy in San Francisco is not a veteran quarterback like with Matthew Stafford was the week before they played the Rams. but the guy's got experience. So they feel like that, hey, we don't want to give up the big play, so let's try and keep things. Let's funnel things inside. Let's funnel to our linebackers. Let's funnel it to our safety. Cowboys have got to find a way to win not only those situations in the middle of the field, but when those corners are cocked inside, you got to find a way to get the ball to the outside. You got to find a way to get your route to the outside, so this could be some easy throws for Dak Prescott. I could see them moving the pocket a lot tonight. The Seahawks defense pretty aggressive. They're going to flow pretty quick to you, and then I could see them coming out back door, hitting maybe Ferguson having a big day, Cooks, some two-level reads. Let Dak kind of find where the open guy is.
All right, it's a pregame party here on the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network. Let's get you to kickoff as quickly as possible. We go inside the booth with Kyle Yeomans of DallasCowboys.com in for Brad Sham tonight, and we'll get Christy Scales keys to the game live from AT&T Stadium. You're listening to the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network.
Fall is here, and that means
Of Cowboys Seahawks Thursday night football here on the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network. Great to have you in live at AT&T Stadium, the Brad Sham radio booth. We'll get to Christy Scales and her keys to the game in just a minute, but right now we welcome in Kyle Yeomans at DallasCowboys.com in for Brad Sham tonight, brought to you by the WinStar World Casino and Resort, the casino of the Dallas Cowboys. On a game night, primetime, Kyle Yeomans, you must be feeling like $1 million, sir.
Well, I learned that I was calling the game approximately 50 minutes ago, so it's been a bit of a whirlwind. I've been able to kind of settle down and come back to earth a little bit over the last 30 minutes because we figured out during our pregame show. So we were doing the pregame show here at the stadium. We only do it here a couple times a year. And we're down on the field. We're sitting right next to the Salvation Army bucket. And I see a couple people start gathering next to us. I'm thinking, man, is that weird? Or they keep looking over at me, and somebody's pointing. Nick Eatman's pointing at me. Derek Eagleton's smiling. And I'm like, what is going on here? Well, we pitch it to a soundbite of, I think it was Dak Prescott or somebody. I can't even remember at this point. And Derek comes over. He said, hey, man, Brad's unavailable tonight. We need you to step in, and I'm really excited about the opportunity, but I want to first give all of the hope in the world for Brad. I hope he feels better down the line, and excited for the opportunity, but hope he feels better very, very soon because he is the voice of the Cowboys, and I've always respected him and not respected him, but only respected him, but really looked at him as a mentor along the way, and really excited to fill in, but he is the voice of the Cowboys and always will be.
No question about it. We're live in the Brad Sham radio booth, getting you set for Cowboys Seahawks Thursday night football. What are your thoughts on this Seahawks team coming in here? I've been disrespecting them, I think, over the course of this program.
You've been overlooking them?
Yeah, I'm overlooking them. Not necessarily overlooking them. I just don't think they are. I don't think the gauntlet of the schedule actually starts tonight. I think it actually starts next week.
I disagree. I think this is a team that has weapons at every level of the defense. They have weapons on the outside. The one thing they don't necessarily have are the trenches. They don't have the offensive line and the defensive line that the Cowboys have. They have plenty of weapons outside. Jackson Smith-Njigba, Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, Noah Fant. They can throw the football whenever they have time to throw the football. Geno Smith just hasn't had that time throughout the year. On the opposite side, I really like some of the defenders they have. Devin Witherspoon, Bryan, you and I talked about him at nauseam on the draft show. And what he brings from a physicality standpoint, playing downhill, from a coverage standpoint, he's able to get back, and he's just a turnover machine. Feels like he's always around the ball. This is a really good Seahawks team. They haven't played well the last 2 weeks, and they've lost some bad games. They've also won some good games. They won on the road against Detroit earlier in the year. Of course, that was before the fighting Dan Campbell's turned into the fighting Dan Campbell's, but still, this is a team that should be respected and needs to be given that respect as soon as they take the field tonight.
Yeah, Kyle, I kind of feel like the thing is, I don't really want to throw the ball against these guys.
Yeah.
I would like to try and find a way to run it. We've seen the Cowboys have some better traction in the running game the last couple of weeks. Is there a reason why, from what you've seen in your evaluation?
Yeah, I think the same thing. I think they have some interior pieces, and a lot of times you can get 4 or 5 yards up the field running the football against Seattle because you see what they have at the second level. Bobby Wagner, Jordan Walker, and what he brings at that second level as well. They have the linebackers to make tackles, but usually you're getting to the second level for a reason because there are holes up front. And the way that this offensive line has been playing, the way they've been blocking for Dak Prescott, the way that they've been blocking even for Tony Pollard and Rico Dowdle on occasion, this is an opportunity, I think, to get the run game going. I'm excited to see how they get it going. Maybe try and get it outside, but these corners are physical, man. They play downfield, or downhill, rather. If you can get it outside, that's great, but I think in between the tackles is where you're going to have success toting it.
Who's the Seahawks wide receiver that scares you the most? Lockett, Metcalf, or Njigba?
This might be surprising, but it's Tyler Lockett. And it might just be because of the success he's had against the Cowboys before. 4 touchdowns in 4 career games against the Cowboys. I know a lot of those came in one game up in Seattle, but he's always seemingly had the Cowboys' number secondary-wise. Now, Dan Quinn hasn't played against his former team like this with this level of talent at his disposal defensively. I think they have a chance to maybe go up against Tyler Lockett and slow him down, but just as much of a crafty veteran as he is, the fact that he can bounce inside or outside, I think he's the one that has the versatility to get after Dallas.
Well, that's the name we keep hearing. I think we're 4 for 4.
We are 4 for 4
the receiver that scares you the most. Everybody's going
really?
Tyler Lockett, so
Yep.
you nailed it. I'm curious, before we let you go, Kyle, what is in the water at the Star? Dak Prescott, Wanye Thomas, and Kyle Yeomans all becoming first-time dads. Congratulations.
I thank you very much. Me and my wife, Lorena, we're so excited about the opportunity to become parents, and I'm honored to be able to join the dad club. I know I've got a great father across from me in Bryan. I've got a 3-time father with you here.
Average, but
still getting the job
3
done.
times.
Like you said, though, maybe something in the water at the Star, but we're certainly happy that water fell upon us, and that we get the blessing of becoming parents very soon.
Well, congrats on that, and congrats on the opportunity tonight. Go get them, and we look forward to hearing you.
Yeah, no doubt. Get well, Brad.
Yes, sir. No question about that. Brad Sham, voice of the Cowboys. It'll be Kyle Yeomans in for Brad tonight. And now we go down to the turf here at AT&T Stadium for Christy Scales. Keys to the game brought to you by Pollock Aurora, proud supplier of the Dallas Cowboys. And Christy, I'd like to apologize on behalf of myself and Broaddus. We should have wished you an extremely happy birthday. The moment we saw you earlier, we dropped the ball. I hope you forgive us, but happy birthday, Christy Scales.
Well, Eric, thank you. I really like to consider it the anniversary of the day I turned 39, so not really a birthday anymore. But that's why I'm so burned that these Seahawks throwback jerseys are from the 1990s. It's just a little too close to home, that's for sure. But I like what you and Bryan and we're talking about with Kyle in terms of keys to the game for the offense establishing the run, because I think they're right. Sure, they have a really good linebacking core with Brooks and Bobby Wagner, and they've got Leonard Williams added along the line there for Seattle, acquired in a trade with New York, but they really do have a talented secondary of playmakers. So I think that not just run game, but screen pass and maybe shorter things, getting guys in space, I think that is a key on offense tonight. In defense, I'm told the key for the Cowboys defense is patience. Don't do someone else's job, staying in your lanes, right? Just be patient, do your thing, and they think the turnovers will come against this Seahawks offense. That's been the Cowboys' strength, one of their strengths this year. They're +7 in the turnover ratio, and the points off takeaways, the differential is 45 points. Of course, 6 defensive touchdowns, but with 17 takeaways, it's led overall to 69 points for the Cowboys, and they think that they can get a couple from Seattle tonight, so we'll see.
Scoop, you mentioned that about the running game, though. I like the direction you're going there. What have you seen with the Cowboys' offensive line? You're down there. The physicality that they played with, I think, has been pretty impressive the last couple of weeks running that ball.
Physicality, but also just the continuity of having those guys together and the combo blocks and things like that. So just because these guys are perennial Pro Bowlers or in the league for a long time, there's still time on task that is required of these NFL players, and they didn't have it through the first couple months or through the first 6 weeks of the season, but they've had it more recently, and I think that that's the really big difference, Bryan.
Well, Christy, we appreciate the time as always. Enjoy the game, and happy birthday once again.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Bryan.
There she goes, Cowboys sideline reporter Christy Scales. She's the best in the business. We'll get you our predictions here in just a second, but right now it's time to pause 10 seconds to allow stations to identify themselves along the Dallas Cowboys radio network.
This is the exclusive home of Dallas Cowboys football. KRLD FM and HD1, Dallas, Fort Worth. Let's go, Cowboys.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
Broaddus, you are not going to be surprised at this, but I feel like the Cowboys get the victory. It might be tough sledding at times, but when you look at the score at the end of the game, you will see the Cowboys win by double digits. The home crowd, the home turf, there's something special about AT&T Stadium. This Cowboys team is absolutely clicking right now, and I like the Cowboys to win this one 35-23.
Yeah, I have the Cowboys winning this thing 31-21. So I'm going to go a little bit beyond what the spread might be, but excited about the opportunity to watch another game tonight on Thursday night. Should be a really good football game.
So you like the Cowboys to pull away maybe a little bit later on?
I think
kind of deal?
You know what? I mean, let's see how the running game goes here. You know, let's see that they can find a way to pass. I'm giving the Cowboys a lot of points in a game that, you know, could like I say, they could, things could shut down in that secondary. I hope not. I think Dak Prescott is on his A game. Mike calling the games the way he is. These receivers, it'll be some good battles out there tonight.
No question about it. All right, that'll do it for the official pregame show of the Dallas Cowboys, getting you set for Cowboys Seahawks Thursday night football. Kickoff is around the corner with Kyle, Babe, and Christy. They got you the rest of the way. Dallas Cowboys football will continue in a moment.
Experience the most electric.